think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live at the Bike, brought to you by the Bicycle Casino in Los Angeles, California. The first and only webcast of real action cash game poker. My name's Bart Hanson. I'm here with Dave Tuckman. Dave, in about 11 hours, I'm out of here. I'm out of the city. It's been a while since I've been here.
I don't know what we're going to do without you.
And you are going to have a smorgasbord of commentators in here tomorrow. Tonight we're going to be doing 300 to 500 no limit. Mo actually told us, you know, he made a he made a good attempt to do the pot limit, but he's really busy, and I actually kind of told him when he was trying to take over Thursdays, it might be a little too much on his plate.
Yeah, we were both surprised that he wanted to do it.
Right.
He wanted to, and that lasted all 2 weeks.
Right. So tonight we're going to do 3 to 5 because we didn't do 3 to 5 this week. We only did a couple 200s. So let's head over to the table and let's introduce the players.
And it's funny actually, by switching our 3 to 5 this week to Thursday, we get a whole bunch of new players, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, seat number 1, we got Brian. And Brian, we saw him earlier in the week. I want to say he played in the $200 game. And he was our big winner in the Tuesday's $200 game. And was a real solid player, actually. It'll be interesting to see how he plays tonight. Seat number 2 is Reggie. And Reggie has been on the show before. I've played with him. And he's a pretty solid player. He's one of those guys. He likes his money. He puts it in with the best of it and doesn't really want to get sucked out on. Seat number 3 is Mark, and you and I both know Mark.
Yep.
Mark is one of those guys, he's always trying to tweak his game and figure out what's going on with it. Seat number 4, we've got Chris. And get a good grasp of Chris as the night goes on.
That is Chris is Dr. BB's son, remember?
Oh, okay, cool. There you go.
Chris Burns.
Seat number 5 is JR. And if there's anybody tighter than Dr. BB, it might be JR, don't you think?
Right, yeah.
Seat number 6 is Pete. And Pete's new to the game. See how he plays tonight. Seat number 7, we've got Derek. Derek's also new to the game. And he just won a big pot. Seat number 8 is Aaron. Aaron is not new to the game, and he just lost a big pot. Aaron obviously rebuying. And seat number 9, we've got Vaughn. Not Vince Vaughn.
I don't know who Vaughn, but I don't mean to be stereotypical. Is he English?
He must be English.
He looks really English.
There's no way he's not English.
Or Irish.
No. He's
I
English.
think he's just English. And I haven't heard his voice. I'm just saying, he looks
Look at
like
his
an
shirt.
Englishman.
Look at his shirt. He's definitely English.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Does he have an accent? Okay, yeah. And I said I didn't know that. Mark brought it in for a raise here in seat 3, and Vaughn the Englishman is called here with ace 10 of diamonds. And the flop comes queen 5-7. So Mark's looking at 1 overcard. Remember, he was the pre-flop raiser, and he's going to continue to bet.
Well, he's also got the pot. He's got the position in this one.
45.
Hey, Donna, ask Vaughn what he thinks about
Welsh.
Donna, ask Vaughn what he thinks about Rooney getting injured. Rooney.
Rooney got injured?
Rooney.
Let's all do a shot. Yeah, let's all do a shot.
There's no running it twice and all that in this game either.
No.
Bad news.
Yeah, see, he's going to engage her in a whole conversation now. Okay, I think we hit it right on the right on the nose there.
Well then,
And this has nothing to do with his name.
Right.
Had nothing to do with.
It was just the way he looked. Yeah.
Completely the way he looked.
Yeah.
What he was wearing and how he looked.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, the funny thing is that, hey, it's not like he's really all that. I mean, we can tell he's English, but I can tell you when I used to live in London, Dave, I'd go on the tube and you'd see a little family of Americans with their shorts and their knee-high socks, and they stuck out more as a sore thumb than this guy does here.
Oh, he doesn't stick out as a sore thumb.
Exactly.
He just sticks out as an Englishman.
Right.
If you want to keep the show interactive, that's what we like to do. Please email us at live@thebike.com. You can also Follow us on a live thread at 2plus2.com. Go to forums, go to World Poker Tour and other events, click on live.
Official Live the Bike thread for May 11th.
Thank you.
Now, JR here is brought in for a raise with Ace, Queen of Hearts. He brought it in for 30, and Vaughn here is going to call with King 9.
No, I don't know.
Hey, look at this. Mark is going to overcall here with Ace, Deuce, and Diamonds out of position. And I know Mark wants to show a
look at
lot
that.
here.
Mark
look
two
at
pair.
this. Ace, Deuce, 6. Mark's got top and bottom here.
Would you bet right into the razor?
Well, it looks like he's checked it.
It's like some weird.
I got to tell you, I will always bet right into JR there because JR is not that aggressive, Dave. He might check there if he's got queens or kings.
If he has queens or kings, he's going to check it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the check raised in anyway.
Yeah.
But if he's got ace king or ace queen, the best way to get money off him is to put a little $40 bet in there, let him call you. Then you can make a $60 bet and let him call you.
Remember, I think this allows JR to get off the hook, especially with a hand like ace-queen here, Dave. Maybe with ace-king he commits, but when Mark well, look at this. JR calls him without a second thought. I thought that maybe the check raise would send alarms off in
Well,
JR's
the
head.
thing with JR's hand, though, you got to look at this board. The board is ace, 6, deuce. Wow, why is he moving in all the way?
He's going to move in. I mean, JR instantly called him, and he's going to move in 260 into about a $250 pot. Actually, the pot's more than that. It's about a $300 pot. He's under-betting the pot all in here. I don't mind the move here on the turn. Pot's $300, Dave.
Really? You wouldn't maybe bet 150, 140? I mean, at this point, JR's raised pre-flop. What do you put JR on?
But I mean, if you bet 150, you've got 100 left on the river.
Okay, so I put 100 on the river. I just want to price him in. I don't want to scare him off here. I
Right.
don't want to let him off the hook.
Right.
JR's raised pre-flop. He's also called your bet after he bet. What do you put JR on? Minimum.
Well, big
Ace
ace.
queen.
Right.
Well, then I'm not scared of ace 4, right? I'm not scared
Right.
of a 4 or 5 coming up. I don't think he's going to make a wheel. And look, JR gets away from it now. If you bet 100 or 125,
And then, he calls, and then he's got to be committed to call on the river.
I'm just saying you've got to be aware of how many chips you have. Now, obviously, if you're playing in a 5-10 game and you've got $1,400 behind, yes, you're going to bet 250 there because that way you're building up the pot
Right.
to put in a nice bet on the river. But in this case, Mark's only got 260 left. You want to make sure you get that full 260 paid.
And again, though, I think Mark let him off the hook with the action of check raising.
Definitely.
Remember, I actually was surprised that JR called so quickly. He's called so quickly on the flop. Because we know that JR is a tight player, but if he led right into him.
Nice laydown by JR.
Oh, yeah.
You look at that board, ace 6 deuce, there's no draw whatsoever. I think he has to look at it and go, this guy's probably got a set of sixes or a set of deuces. Or maybe he got lucky with 2 pair.
Derek is going to raise here with pocket nines. Now, what were the bottom 2 cards there? Was it ace 5 deuce?
Ace 6 deuce.
Okay, so
There
you don't
really was
put,
no draw.
You can't really put them on bottom 2.
No, you put him on either ace 6, ace deuce, or a set, right?
Again, you can email us at live@thebike.com. You can become our friend at MySpace by going to myspace.com/live@thebike. And David now has a MySpace account. He is friend number 2 after me at the Live at the Bike.
Yeah,
At the Live at the Bike page. And I got to tell you, you know what Dave's first thing that he did when he got onto MySpace? He went and he looked at his friends and he said, "Who's this guy?" I said, "It's Tom. It's everybody's friend." And he deleted Tom.
Yeah,
that was
fuck
the
Tom.
first thing he did. He deleted Tom.
And fuck Tom. I don't know.
Oh, man, he deleted Tom.
Okay, anybody who's English has got to buy shots. Okay.
Vaughn is raised here to 20. Brian is called here with pocket 8s, and Mark is called with king 7 of hearts. So Vaughn has made it about 12 pounds to go here, and he checks the flop, 10 deuce deuce. And Brian here is going to bet on pocket 8s. He's got the best hand.
I got to tell you, I really do like Brian's game. Be interested to see how he plays tonight. I don't know anybody else. I mean, I know a few other players at the table. Without knowing the rest of the players at the table, I got to think Brian in seat 1 is probably the strongest player right now.
Great ally.
Just walked around and headbutted everybody and put a flag down.
And until he proves me wrong,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
now,
stick with that.
get word that Brian and Vaughn, seat 1 and seat 9, actually had just won a jackpot earlier in the day.
oh, wow, that's great. That's awesome for them.
Yeah,
More of our money to them.
exactly.
That
Every
is.
time. Button moves over here to seat 3.
We see it so often, though, that check raise by Mark there. We see so often people check raise their big hand, and all it does is let somebody off the hook.
Right.
Oh, on the button.
What's going on out there, Dave? Jeez. Man. Sorry, folks. Can't hear that. Luckily, you can't hear that, but what's going through our ears. Yeah. We have, looks like we got a raise here. by the button with King 9. Now Reggie limped in. He's going to call, and Derek is in there with 10 deuce of diamonds. Three-way action here.
Well,
and look
King
at this.
9. Look, nice flop from Mark.
Yeah, he was the pre-flop raiser.
I guess anytime Mark's in the flop in there, he's going to be flopping 2 pair.
85.
And he's going to bet right out here.
No problem, sir.
And Mark is going to take it down here. Button moves over here to seat 4.
Right, big one, sir.
Man,
See what's going on.
big blind is in seat 6. Ace Jack offsuit here for Brian in seat 1.
Immediately I will. We all doing shots? So far, we haven't got involved in this guy.
Limp.
25.
And a raise here by Brian.
Yeah, and Brian's got Ace Jack here offsuit. And you imagine he's probably going to buy the button here. He does.
Yeah.
20 more to call.
20 more to call. Early position limper here with Queen 5 of clubs.
You bluff?
And Ace Jack is going to take it down. My goodness, my goodness.
It's better when you're
Yeah, nobody calls.
All right. Now that the ringing is out of my head.
Yeah, and anybody
Go on with the
wondering what's
show.
going on, just so you know what's going on. Obviously, we have headphones on. People on the floor that are helping us out have headphones on.
Right.
People putting in our director has a headphone on. And once in a while, there's interference. Now, you don't hear it at home, but it kind of sounds like, imagine you're popping popcorn,
Right.
and your head was inside the actual popper.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of sounds like.
Exactly.
Just to give you kind of heads up, what we've been listening to for the last, say, 3 minutes.
Button's going to move here to seat 5.
Cool email here from Jared. Says, hey, Dave, can't wait for the show tomorrow night. Should be a very colorful night with all the guest commentators.
And we'll go through the lineup here after this hand, Dave, of who you plan on. Of course, tomorrow night's going to be 10-20, no limit.
And he still wants to know if we discussed it with Evelyn where we can play a game and then we can commentate about it later on, kind of a la Greg Raymer, how he did it during the World Series. And that would be a great show, and we'll see if we can get that together sometime in the next few months.
Ace 4-5 here. It's a $35 bet by Reggie.
It's a nice flop for Chris. I got to tell you, the reason I like the flop for Chris is he's got the top end of the straight draw. It's a rainbow board, plus there's an ace out there. If he were to catch an 8 here or a 3, the 3 being less, so...
Wow, this is really surprising me. I believe the pot was mini raised like to 15. And I mean, by Reggie, Dave. And the funny thing here is that Reggie raised it to 15. You got a bunch of callers, including Derek in the small blind. Derek now checks ace 10. Reggie bets. You got a caller by Dr. BB's son. Ding, ding. And now you're going to commit all your chips with ace 10 with a check raise? I mean, the play worked out, but boy.
Well, I mean, that's what you see sometimes at this level, obviously.
Yeah.
This is kind of a level where I would say when we're playing 5-10 or even 10-20 or 25-50 when we played last night, as you go further up, obviously, the percentage of players that are professional and that are recreational obviously go up. You have more professionals as you move up. Now, at this level, you only probably have 1 or 2 professionals, maybe only 1 in a game, maybe none in this game. And you start looking at most of these players are recreational players, and a recreational mistake is to overvalue ace 10. Top pair, not a great kicker, obviously.
Limped around here.
Kind of a long-winded way of saying that, huh?
And look, JR is going to limp in here with ace 9, 1 off the cutoff. And we're going to see this 5 ways, Dave. Yellow chips in this game, which are the mainstay of this game, are $5 chips. Purples are 25s. If you see whites, they're hundreds. We're playing a 5-5 blind game, 300 min, 500 max. And the flop comes out 9-7-6. And look at this. We've got 3 players with top pair. Case 9 on the flop. Now, Mark is going to come out and bet 35 with Jack 9. Now, the problem here for JR, although he quickly calls, I got to tell you, he does have the ace of clubs in his hand, and he does have position. But a lot of times, if you've got a tight player bleeding out onto that flop with people behind you, it kind of puts you in a tough spot, doesn't it?
Definitely does.
Really draw-heavy board. He's got the best hand. Well, the turn's
wow.
an 8. And now Mark picks up a flush draw. Along with top pair, it's the 8 of hearts. And he has a gut shot to the 10.
Yeah.
He's going to bet 65 here. And you can see that JR he is still a favorite, but Mark has got a huge draw with top pair.
Makes it real tough for JR to call this. Really does.
Now, again, you look at more advanced players, that might look to be a scare card. But if I'm in Mark's spot, I don't put JR on a 10 here. If a 10 or a 5 came on the turn, it would be much more scary, Dave.
Yeah, but couldn't you put him on 10-9?
Yeah, you might. And the river here is a 3.
And he misses.
And JR had called. So
and Mark's got to fire big here. And
pot's
Mark,
down $200.
I think if Mark moves all in here, I think JR folds. I really do. Obviously, it's easier for us, though. And he's going to bet. What is he going to bet here? That's not going to do it, is it?
Well, I think, again, Mark... And
wow,
that is going to do it. That is unbelievable. What I was going to say is, Mark's a guy, he's not a professional poker player. He always looks for our advice. What you have to realize there, though, with Jack-9 is if a guy like JR has called you, there is absolutely no way that Jack-9 is good on the river unless JR was just calling you with clubs, right?
Right.
Because you can't beat 10-9. You can't beat any other 9 with a lower kicker than a Jack because it's 2 pair. And obviously you can't beat a 9 with a higher kicker, right?
You might even put JR on 2 pair. In that case.
Yeah. And that $65 bet isn't necessarily going to do it.
No, normally it wouldn't. I mean, it was only 1/3 the pot.
Right.
The pot was then 265, only 65 to call for JR. I'm surprised JR didn't call. It's not like the river changed anything.
No, it's just, sometimes people get intimidated, by that type of, say, analysis if you're trying to play at the table, of trying to put your player on a hand like that. But it's really not that difficult. You just look at the kicker and look at this board and say, what can Jack-9 beat? Now, obviously, you think to yourself, well, Jack-9 can beat, it can beat 8-9, it can beat 7-9, it can beat 6-9. But in that case, all those cards were up on the board. So that's all 2 pair. 10-9 is a straight. Queen, King-9, and Ace-9 you don't beat. And I don't think JR's sticking in there with 5-9. 5-9 is a straight, too.
Yeah,
I think. Or actually, 5-9 was not a straight. But, against a player like JR.
5-9.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Interesting email from Shane Murphy. I want to get to it in a second. It says, Hola from New Zealand again.
A Kiwi gentleman. Before we get to that email, though, I want you to go through the lineup tomorrow.
Okay. You got it.
45.
$45 raise here by Dr. BB's son, Sean. Or that's Chris, excuse me. Chris. Really? And he's going to take it down. Don't pull that on me, Ray. I'll come out and kill you.
There's supposedly the cocktail.
Yeah.
Was asking about you.
Yeah, Ray's saying in my ear, Tracy was asking about you.
Yeah. Ooh, really? She was asking about you last night, too.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So tell us who's going to be on the show tomorrow, Dave.
Live at the Bike. It's becoming porn now.
Yeah.
I guess if it was up to Donna, this would be soft porn, wouldn't it?
Tell us who's going to be on the show
okay,
tomorrow.
So tomorrow night's show. Let's see. You're not going to be here, so I think we're going to start it off with Jonas, actually.
Oh, I thought he was coming in at 9.
No, he's going to come at 7 o'clock, I think.
5 players.
5 players limp around here. Queen high. Nobody's got a queen.
Yeah, no one has much here. No one's got a 5, right?
No.
This is probably going to be checked out. I don't think we've got any real reckless players at the table. Well, it gets checked over to Aaron. He's going to take a shot at it. He doesn't have anything here, Dave.
But nobody else does either, and he'll take it down.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so we're starting the show off with Jonas. And we're going to get to see poker through the eyes of Jonas. Then we're going to get Corporation Mike in here for a little bit. Then we're going to get Hollywood Russ in here. I think we're going to get, we might even get Jason Cacciatani in here. And then my favorite.
Really? He's going to come in here? He's usually not the type of guy. Remember, he stiffed me on an interview about a year
told him
ago.
because he doesn't like you.
No, I got it.
No, seriously though. I think Jay said he's...
Cacciatani and Mark Safe.
Right, exactly. I think Jay said he's going to come in here, though, and I said, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then after Jay, my big fan, my big favorite, Alan, is going to come in.
Oh, that's
And,
Alan?
and everybody kind of asked me, they go, well, how long are you going to have these guys in the booth? And I go, well, it depends how good they are.
Right. Yeah, you can, figure it out from there.
I already told Alan, I go, if you stink, I go, you're only going to be in there for 1 minute.
Yeah. JR is raised here with Ace-King. Aaron is called with Pocket Deuces, a $35 raise. Vaughn the Englishman is called with Pocket Nines. Well, we got a little pet name for everybody, don't we?
We try.
$105 pot here. Go into the flop.
It's not a terrible flop for JR, and if he follows through at the bed here, he should take this down.
He's going to move. He's going to push in here.
Well, there you go. And he's actually not in that bad shape. Obviously, an ace, a king, or a jack would win it for him. And I don't think Vaughn can call this.
And again, specifically against a guy like JR with these stack sizes, I don't even know if I make a call with ace-queen. He's kind of short pre-flop, Dave. And then when he pushes me, now it really puts me in the test if I add ace-queen. I mean, Jay really does play it tight.
Right, and the stacks are so small, there's no way you can get away from ace-queen here.
Right. So you might actually not want to call.
Yeah, you end up putting yourself in a bad spot, and you go, oh, man.
And Vaughn is going to call.
And Vaughn is a favorite
Wow.
here. He's about a 3-2 favorite on
Vaughn
JR.
is going to call with nines, 2 overcards here. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. JR, of course, 2 overs and the gut shot to the jack here.
Uncanny instincts by the Englishman.
All right, I'm going to take you guys to the
And he turns over nines like it's the nuts. Here we go.
And it is the nuts right now.
Turn is a 5. JR needs an ace, king, or a jack, and nines are going to take it down there.
That's right. The Englishman takes it away.
Is that how they play poker in Europe?
That's how they do it there.
All right.
So
Look at him,
Alan,
he even says it. He goes, that's how an American plays poker. So obvious.
Alan, Jonas, Jay Katsutani.
Corporation Mike.
Corporation Mike said he might come in here?
Hollywood Russ. And whoever else is playing tomorrow night, I'm going to try to get everybody in here for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
If we can. Mark's got pocket aces here.
He does. And
Got an
he is
interesting
in,
little funny story
secret.
about Alan, though, last night. I'll tell you.
Got a couple emails from Tony D and Shane Murphy that we want to get to in a second when we get a chance.
Oh, that's right.
And a couple of limps here, and imagine here comes the raise from Mark. And Mark makes it 25 more.
Well, he's limped around, Dave, and he's
Yeah.
in the small blind. He's going to make it 25 to go.
Now, would you call this if you're... Yeah, see, I just don't mind this call by Brian. If you think Mark is raising you with a big pocket pair, I don't mind the call. I
See,
really
how
don't.
much does Mark have there? I mean, it looks like Brian has at least 500.
And so
I
does-
don't like the call there by Reggie because he's short. Ace-7 offsuit.
And there you go.
Oh, look at this. Yep, and there you go. Brian's got top 2.
And
yeah.
that's- and-
Mark is deep.
And Brian is deep, and Mark is deep, and Brian might break him here.
Love to see Brian make a little mini raise here. You don't want to see, like, the 10 of hearts come and kill your action here, or 8 of hearts.
Exactly.
And Mark is going to bet 50? Only 50 here. And let's see what Brian is going to do. I believe he has announced raise. That's what I'm getting word.
Because you don't know how much he's going to raise? Since it's a limit game throwing away cards, but just hold on until he's finished raising.
So he has announced raise.
100 more.
And Brian is actually telling Reggie you shouldn't really throw your cards away until the guy tells
Right,
you
obviously.
raise. He makes it 100 more, and let's see if Mark...
Well, it gives a player a lot of information if he can just announce raise there.
Now, Dave, this is a very, very interesting thing. You look back at your aces, and it is key and somewhat critical the fact that you have the ace of hearts, so this guy is not making this move as a semi-bluff to not flush draw, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, he could theoretically have, say, Queen 10 of hearts.
Right.
He could have, say, King 10 of hearts, which would be a gut shot with the flush draw.
And Brian is pulling a little Phil Lock there. And look at this. Mark is coming back over the top here, Dave, and Brian has him. Brian has him. And this is exactly why you make that call with Jack 9 of diamonds in
Exactly.
position. And there it is. Here comes the push.
And for $25, he is going to make 20 times the original bet.
This
He's
is
going to
going
make
to be
500.
this is going to be a $1,000 pot. Now, obviously, Brian can get counterfeited here. Mark could catch running hearts. Mark could also catch a 4. He could catch an ace, or he could pair the turn card, just as long as Brian doesn't fill up here.
Exactly.
So Mark will pick up a lot of outs if the turn is a heart. Obviously, if the turn is a 4, he's way ahead, and he needs to catch an ace.
Right.
This is going to be...
Right now, he's got 2 aces and 3 4s for outs. He has 5 outs right now, but
he
he'll
will
pick
pick
up
up
a lot
outs.
more in the turn.
Right.
And right now, the worst thing about this is right now you have to know you're behind.
Yeah.
When you've been re-raised again.
This pot is bigger, Dave. This is like a $1,400 pot here.
And Mark knows he's behind.
yeah.
But at this point, he goes, it's $200 to first $1,400 pot. I have to call you.
Turns an 8. All right. Mark needs
Eight,
an
a
ace,
four, and
8, or a 4, and the river is a 5, and Brian pretty much doubles through Mark. He's going to pick up about a $1,300 or $1,400 pot. You know, it's funny. We were talking during the hand, but, I'm not saying that Mark is necessarily going to get away from that, but it looked like Mark bet, Brian raised. And
Brian
then Mark,
re-raised.
Mark
re-raised.
Re-raised 100, and then Brian pushed all in over the top. At some point,
You do. Okay, but
I mean,
let
he
me-
made the mini re-raise
He
to
did.
100.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
At that point, the pot was then $1,300. It was $200 to call. You're getting 6.5 to 1 in your money.
Obviously, if those were the stack sizes, it looked
If
like
you think the guy's
it
on
looked
a
like it looked like there might have been another round of raising in there. It
There
looked like
was,
it
you're
looked
right.
like bet, raise, re-raise, 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 all in.
It was bet, raise, re-raise, all in.
I thought. Well, okay.
No, they didn't have that much.
Okay.
Because he made it 100. Brian made it 100 more right away.
Right. Look what Mark has again this hand. On the button. He's got aces.
Oh, I mean, that's just like, that's taunting you almost.
And now he brought 200 onto the table here, so he's got 500, and he's going to raise here again. And he really should make it look like a big-time over-raise. And JR might move in here. I got to tell you, because you might think Mark's on tilt, he's making a bunt and raise. But JR is just going to call. But if this comes out rag here, Dave, this is what I love to have.
I got to tell you, if I'm JR there, I'm raising
Yeah,
him.
absolutely. I am, too. I get caught. And if I'm Mark, I might make it 75 on the button, something like that. Make it look like it's a steal.
Yeah, definitely.
And Brian overcalls with fours.
Oh, look at
Look
that
at a set of aces here from Mark. Totally rainbow board here. But remember, Mark is in the hand. Now, he's going to check it here, but he's in the hand with guys I don't think he's going to fire into him.
I don't terribly mind the
Turns
check
to
one
5.
time. I got to tell you, I don't mind it terribly. It's not going to kill you.
Unless someone's in there with 4-6.
Yeah, but there's a raised pot. I mean,
70.
Mark is going to bet 70 now. And this actually is going to get JR to continue.
yeah, I was going
in
to
the
say, I
hand.
mean, it's not a terrible play there. Because JR might have had kings, queens, jacks, tens, and you get him in there to stay in
Spot
there.
is over 200. How about a nice over bet here from Mark? The rivers of threes filled up.
Just go all in. Go on, Mark.
I think you put a nice over bet. It's a $200 pot.
I go
there.
all in and I make it look like I'm steaming.
$200 pot. And he is going to bet 140, and JR is going to call. And Mark is going to take it down there with aces full. Wow.
You know, and by just checking one time, and I know you and I are never advocates for slow
Right.
playing.
But
And
it's kind of
you see the hand earlier where Brian flopped 2 pair, and I love the fact that he raised right away. I love the fact that he got all his money in right away. I love that. But in that case there, look at the board. Ace 7-3 rainbow. You know what? I'll take the chance. Let me check it one time.
Look at this post here by Big Bend on 2+2 about 10 minutes ago. He says that seat number 6 and seat number 7, Pete and Derek, are pros from Houston. They're visiting LA, and they're pretty excited that they're here at the bike. Pete is a solid type player in seat 6, and Derek is a maniac who loves to bully the table and steal pots. So that is Pete there in seat 6 and Derek in seat 7. Thanks for the background.
This should
there.
be a fun night.
Yeah.
Derek could win big or bust early.
Yep.
And you said didn't Derek call a raise with 10 deuce diamonds before?
Yeah.
Play those Texas boys.
Now, Reggie here has raised with pocket 6s to 30. Mark is called with 8-5 suited. Now, I know Mark's on a roll here, but you can't really make that call because Reggie just doesn't have the money, Dave. Reggie's real short here.
Exactly.
8-5 is,
It's not how big your stack is, how big
Yeah.
his stack is. But look, he gets Aaron and Vaughn to stay in as well.
Well, ace, deuce, 4 here, a couple of hearts. Looks like 6s are good. Can Reggie follow through? He's facing one overcard, but it's the premium scare card here. And it gets checked around the turn as a 9.
And at this point, you might think your 6s are good.
Well, 6s are still good.
And he does, and he's going to put some money in the
gonna bet.
pot now, and he's going to take it down probably.
60.
Okay, so let's get to those emails. There was a good email from New Zealand
Yes, we will.
that I
here in a
wanted to
second.
get to.
But again, Pajedo here, as Evelyn has walked into the room, so I'll repeat this. I think the play then commentate idea would be a great segment for Live at the Bike. You guys could keep on expanding the envelope. That would be pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of cool, yeah. I mean, if you're sitting here, you play it on Friday, and then say on the following Tuesday, we actually watch that episode and you commentate it on yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Kind of cool.
Strato.
Okay,
I don't know why.
Shane Murphy,
Because
great fan of the show. Tonight we are setting up our first home game that will involve money. He says the closest casino is an 8-hour drive. He says, my question is, 2 of us have played a lot more poker than the other 8 that are coming to the game. What advice do you have to run a smooth home game? Obviously, I want everybody to have fun, and the goal is not to bankrupt my friends. Okay, well, my advice for you, and obviously I'll let Bart jump in there in a second. My advice, first of all, is make it, if you want to make it a no-limit game, make it a restricted buy-in no-limit game.
Right.
And that way, by doing that, but no, make it really, really low restricted buy-in game. That way, if somebody does go bust, they can rebuy for, say, $10 more. And if they go bust again, they can rebuy for another $10. and that way they're not sitting on the sideline because they've lost their first, they've lost $25 right away.
Well, Derek, supposedly the maniac, he's going to bet a big hand here right out. It was limped around. He's got top 2, and he bets right away here. So that, if you're going to play kind of laggy, that's a great way to play.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is keep it really fun. You know what I mean? If people are doing string raises or people aren't really knowing the rules,
Right.
Don't worry about it. Just kind of throw the rules out the window and just have a good time.
That's what we're doing. Somebody give me a shot.
And then it should be fun for everybody.
You know one of the other mistakes a lot of people make, too, that don't really necessarily know what's going on as we're going to take a look at a chip count here? Only use 2 or 3 different denominations of chips. I've seen people start with like 5 or 6 different colors. You only need 2 or 3 at the most.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the chip count here. Over 5,000 at the table here. Brian, 1,200. Vaughn, he's got about 700 pounds there in seat 9. And Mark's pulling up there with 700. Let's take a look at the differences here.
And Vaughn up 760, Brian up 700. And I got to tell you, I thought Brian was probably the strongest player at this table, and he has not changed my opinion yet.
Yeah.
Like to formally say that
Seat number 2 here is going to raise with pocket 7s. And Mark is going to call here with ace 10 of hearts.
He's in position.
yeah. I seem to
Here we
have
go.
a really bad glass of
Well,
wine.
queen, jack here. Let's see how Reggie's going to play this.
Now, if Reggie checks, Brian should be, if Reggie checks, you imagine Mark's going to put some money in there. Well, Reggie's not going to give him a chance.
Reggie's going to come out and bet here. Now, Mark has got overs and a gut shot to the king, but I just don't see how you can continue on here.
No, I don't think so either.
Again, look at Reggie's stack size. You would think even if Reggie has an underpair and if he gets raised, a lot of people just get frustrated and call. I don't even know if there's that much fold equity here.
Yeah, I think you got to throw this away.
Well, Mark is going to call. Maybe he thinks he can take it away from him on the turn if he checks.
Well, that might be a way to play it, I guess.
Turns a 5. Well, he's picked up the nut flush draw now, Dave.
Got a lot of outs here. Obviously, an ace, a 10, a heart, or a king will win it from Mark. And you can see that he's almost a coin flip here with 1 card to go. Reggie's looking at it, they're going, hey, is there a 7 out there?
He checks. And Mark is going to move him in. So I guess that was his plan. He actually picks up the draw here. But I think it's a good bet as opposed to taking the card. I assume he set this play up by calling on the flop.
At this point, definitely.
Yeah.
You definitely do not want to take the card here.
He bets 150, and again, as Dave said, a queen would do it, a jack would do it, an ace, a 10, or a heart.
But look at Reggie. He's thinking about calling here anyway.
How often are you with 1 card to come with ahead only 56-44 on the turn when you're ahead with a pair?
Well, you look at how many outs he's got here. He's got 3 kings, 3 aces, 3 tens, and 9 hearts. Wow. 18 outs with 1 card to go.
Email here from Tony D. He said, we were talking about last night comparing online play to live play. And he said mainly people play, 4 to 5 tables at a time online as opposed to 1 patient person in a live game. He said, I was thinking about that and that instances are very different, but say you sit down at 1 table online, you focus on that single game, try to get reads on those players due to betting patterns and still basically try to play the other players. Given you see a lot more hands and can't pick up on any physical tells, is playing a single table online really that different from playing a live table? Talking about I just don't know if that many people do play single tables.
Well, I guess if you play a single table online, well, you're probably getting twice as many hands online.
You get about 60 hands an hour. Live, you get anywhere from 25 to 30, I would say, right?
Right. Okay, so you're getting about twice as many hands.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to be a little more patient in a live game than you would have to be online.
He is raised on his button almost every time.
And look at this. Derek is raised here with 9-6 offsuit. And people are commenting that he is raised on the button every single time. So he is Mr. Lag.
Well, he's from Houston.
Much like John Benetti.
I remember Orlando also, a Texas boy.
Yeah, I don't know if those guys were from Houston.
He was actually Amarillo.
Amarillo. Amarillo is in northern Texas, in the Panhandle.
No, I didn't. I had 6 years.
I drove through Amarillo on my way here 4 years ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I did the northern route.
Did you?
I did.
Jack 5? I would have followed that.
It's funny. We've done a couple of home games, and you've always got to realize that as long as you keep it fun and it's not too much money, everybody will have a good time. Tournaments are usually not a good idea, though. I never think tournaments are a great idea because somebody gets knocked out,
Yeah,
and then
they
what do
can't
they
play
do?
anymore.
Right, and that's not fun.
Yeah.
Pocket kings here for JR in seat number 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna snap. I'm gonna get drunk and snap.
And JR makes it $30 with kings.
Your calling.
And Derek's going to call here with 9-7 offsuit. Aaron's going to call with Queen 5 suited.
Yeah.
And Mark should lay this down. This is an easy lay down for Mark. I don't care about pot odds. It's ace-9 offsuit.
You come in, you got to buy me a drink.
I would rather be calling with 9-7 than ace-9.
So we get three-way action here, Dave. It's about, what, a $75 pot.
Actually, it's bigger than that. It's about a $110 pot. Yeah.
How much did he raise it? I'm sorry.
30.
Oh, he raised 30. Okay.
Yeah.
We're forgetting somebody over here,
And JR's going to bet. This is going to commit him. 75. He bet 75 here, and he is going to take it down. Look at this. Have you ever heard of the game? I'm looking at Jimmy Pancake's avatar in 2+2. You ever heard of the old school game, Isaac, too? Leisure Suit Larry? A little old school XXX game? This guy's got the Leisure Suit Larry avatar going on. That was basically like before Grand Theft Auto. Like now in Grand Theft Auto, you can go around and, bang hookers and, beat women up and throw them in the water. Grand Theft Auto and shoot up a club.
I always find it really interesting when you get those parent groups going, but Leo, let's blame all of society's problems on Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
That's right. People no longer take responsibility for anything themselves. Let's blame somebody else.
And She Contender says that it's going to be interesting to hear Corporation Mike commentating to see if he recommends ripping cards in half.
Oh, that was my interesting story. So I'm talking to Alan last night, right? And Alan goes, well, how long are we going to be in there? And I kind of look at him and go, depends how good you are, Alan. And he goes, well, you are going to kind of, lead us along, right? And I go, no, I'm going to let you do it by yourself. He goes, and he got really scared. He goes, oh, no, I don't want to do it then. I go, of course I'm going to be in there with you, man. I was like, what do you think I'm going to do?
Pete raised here with ace-10, and Vaughn called with queen-9. We're heads up here.
Hey, I'll buy somebody a drink if they switch to seats.
And Pete is going to continuation bet with top pair. He's going to bet 40. We actually had Mo in here one time. That's it, right? Like way back when.
The problem with
I don't
Mo,
know if it's labeled on the archives, but you can't. Yeah.
I'd get Mo in here tomorrow night. He
Yeah.
would definitely come in for 10 minutes. The problem is I don't know if anybody can understand it.
Well, I think that's what you might have the same thing with Alan too.
Yeah, but Alan's just funny.
No, it's true. You actually you don't realize, Dave. You don't realize that when you actually talk with people, and Mo and Alan have, I think, Farsi accents, Persian accents. It's a lot easier to understand somebody with a thick accent when you actually can see them talk. Even though if you can't necessarily, say, like read their lips, but it's just easier as opposed to just audio.
Well, that's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing an interview. Like, normally, if I'm talking to Mo and we're doing an interview, you can see Mo, so you can see his lips, and you can actually understand it.
It's just going to be audio here.
Tomorrow night, right.
Yeah.
I want to do commentary.
Right.
I want to actually do play-by-play and see
Yeah.
watch the game.
Yeah.
And that might make it really difficult. I just figure Alan will be funny. I mean, watching, high, no-limit poker through the eyes of Alan, we've all wondered what he thinks, haven't we?
All right. I'll give you action.
And Brian raised it to 30 here on the button with ace-queen.
And
And Mark
Mark
is in that with their trap hand, Dave, king-queen offsuit.
Yeah. And you got to pay attention to who was raising this, you know what I mean?
Vaughn is called with jack-8. Well, this is going to be $120 here going four ways. Jack 9-8. And Vaughn's got top and bottom. This is not a flop that I would check to the razor with here. I got to tell you, I really would not check to the razor, and it looks like he's going to bet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to bet this. There's
Yeah.
two spades out there, and obviously this is a scary board. The razor might not bet it, and I
Yeah.
got to tell you, there's no way Brian was going to bet this board.
No way.
Brian's going to just take a quick peek, see that he has absolutely nothing, and throw it away.
I think you always take a card there with ace-queen. Maybe you spike a 10, get lucky.
Oh, yeah, there's no way I'm
Yeah.
betting into that board. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Not with three callers.
$75 bet here
The
by
problem
Vaughn.
with betting into that board is I have no idea where my opponents are at.
Right.
Are my opponents calling me with spades? Are they calling me with 10? Or are they calling me with a jack?
Brian gets away from it.
Yeah, and...
Now, Mark's got overs and a gut shot to the 10 here, but, again, there's two spades out there.
Now, his hand becomes a little more interesting only because if the 10 were to come,
He'd have the nuts, right?
if anybody else is a queen, he
Yeah.
can really get a lot of money off him. But in this game, it's not really that.
Right.
Neither player is that deep where you should be calling an $80
It's a good bet there by Vaughn.
It is. The Englishman. You're telling me, so Rooney got hurt?
Yeah, I did. I don't think he's going to play in the World Cup.
Oh! Are you killing me?
You
No way.
didn't hear about that?
I didn't, no, because my father-in-law, who kind of updates me on all these things, he's in New York.
You can go to, like, bbc.co.uk, keep up with the English team if you're a big fan. I mean, I'm at ussoccer.com almost every day.
And I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking.
We'll play after this.
Pocket Jack's over here for seat 8.
How obvious it is that you're single. I mean, yeah, I have so much time in my hands. What was I thinking? I'll check it out next time. Don't you realize that when you're married, you have a new project every single day? You know what we did today? Melissa woke me up and said, hey, let's build a rock flower bed. I said, oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah, I'll go get the bags of cement. Yeah, welcome to married life.
Gonna raise your Pocket Jacks. Hey, you had your fun for once a year. You went to Vegas last week
Right,
with your
exactly.
boys, right?
Exactly. I had 2 days in Vegas without Melissa, with my boys. Yeah, forget it.
You gotta come in.
I gotta wait till next year's guys' weekend.
God, I'm steaming and I'm drunk on cheap wine.
Derek asks Aaron here. Aaron's got Pocket Jacks, not Queen Jack. Derek asks, can you beat a pair of 8s? And I think Aaron is going to show him the Jacks here. Oh, maybe not.
I mean, I say they're not going to I actually enjoy doing some hard work outside, but at the same time, though, it's just funny how you point that, you go, don't you check these things on the website?
I gotta remember, I'm an only child, right? So, I'd be we'd sometimes have family time on the weekends where we'd be doing yard work, and I hate yard work, the passion. Because my dad used to always make me do it. Like, we used to have, we used to have, a bunch of rocks as decoration out by the sidewalk. And in Boston, they lay sand and salt down for for snow.
Right, yeah.
And the sand doesn't go anywhere. People in Southern California who don't know that. Put sand down in the winter, it stays on the road in the summer. So we'd have to sift through the rocks and get the sand out. Shovel the rocks up and put it through like a filter. Like a big filter, and pick up buckets of stones.
Why do they put
Haul
sand
them
down?
back and forth?
It's funny, when I was in upstate New York, they put salt down all the time, but never sand.
You guys didn't have sand?
No,
in
it's
the
just
winter
salt.
time? Really? Well, salt is like a thing they didn't want to put salt on because if it seeps down into the water table.
Oh.
Or, limped around here, ace 7-10 with a couple of spades.
Top and bottom for Reggie in seat number 2. Ace 7 there. Nobody else has got much of anything at all. Imagine this will go bet, fold, fold, fold,
Yeah.
fold.
He's going to bet. But if anybody else, knows what I'm talking about, at least in Massachusetts or on the East Coast, well, Derek is going to call here. Is he setting up a play? I got to think he's setting up a play with Deuce 8 here, Dave.
I imagine
And
so.
now Reggie fills up. And it goes check, check. Reggie is trying to get him to bet. And then the river's a 10. And now I think Derek might just give up here. I mean, it's the third spade now.
No, there's nothing.
But it's a double-paired board.
I think Derek was thinking about making a play.
Yeah.
But then he saw the ace come off and the 10 of spades came up and he goes, you know what?
Some of my worst bicycle accidents when I was a kid was, riding on the side of the road, on the right-hand side of the road. That's right, Vaughn, on the right-hand side of the road. And basically like going down a hill, and then you get your tire in a bunch of sand, and you lose traction, and you fall. I mean, it was either that or me not paying attention and driving right into fire hydrants. Those are my two big accidents on bicycles.
Yeah, my worst one ever. I remember there was a really, really hot chick. And I remember looking to the left. I was like 14 years old, okay? And I'm looking to the left, and I rode my bike right into a parked car. And I literally rode up the car, and I was on top of it.
Did you make the recovery and wave at the girl?
No. I was like, I had broken nose, bloodied, carried my bike home. It was awful. Classic, spaz move by Tuckman.
Four-way action here. Queen, Jack, 7.
Reggie with second pair, got the best hand, and he's going to bet it. Put some money out there, see where he's at.
25.
He's going to bet 25.
And that should get it done.
It's funny. Through the power of 2+2, I command thee. I've been looking around the other topics forums on 2+2. Somebody started a forum, worst bicycle accident ever.
Oh, God.
And the other times, too, I don't know in upstate New York if you guys ever had, these, basically, they would fill, a playing field. Say a playing field was below what the street level was. It was like a dip. They'd fill it with water. In the wintertime, so it would ice and you could skate on it and stuff. Well, there are drainage ditches. So in the summertime, you just ride down into this thing and it's grass. the drainage ditch where the pipe came out was hidden. So I started riding down the little hill, and I went right into the ditch and flipped over.
Oh.
Because there was nothing there. It was like going your front wheel right into a hole.
Yeah.
I broke my arm.
Did you ride like BMX?
No, I never got into like little like 1 speeds with pegs and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I was I had like a 10. Actually, I had a 5 speed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, when I was. Butterfly pegs. Yeah. Huffy. Yeah, you remember that? Huffy.
I think I'm trying to remember the bike. What was it called? Red Line. Red Line? Is that right, Isaac? Red Line. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And you learn like the bunny hop and all that crap, right? Yeah. Button moves over to seat number 6. Once again, we're playing No Limit Hold'em. Blinds are 5 and 5 in this game. This is a restricted blind game. You can buy in anywhere from 3 to 500. And Bart and I often say this is the best game at this level, pretty much anywhere. I mean, the blind structure is such that you can buy in for 100 times the big blind. You can really play some poker here.
Look at this. Brian is limped under the gun with kings, and he got the raise here by JR in the cutoff.
And what does JR have? Ace 5.
Ace 5 of hearts.
Wow.
Now, normally JR usually just limps in with that. And Brian is not going to trap. He is going to re-raise. He is out of position here. And this is probably going to get JR to fold. Now, JR is not that deep here, Dave.
I got to tell you, I'm
Ace
somewhat
5.
surprised. It's the first play that Brian's made that's kind of surprised me. In a table like this, that's not overly aggressive, I'm surprised he raised it here he limped in with kings.
Because you're not always counting on a raise.
First of all, you're not always counting on a raise. Second of all, you're really letting your opponents off the hook by that limp re-raise play. Kind of lets players off the hook. If a guy raised with ace jack,
Yeah.
they're never going to call your limp re-raise. But if you were to raise with the kings, they might call you with ace jack. And if the flop comes out jack high, you might trap them.
Yeah.
While if an ace comes off, it's really easy for you to get away from.
Telling old stories of England, spinning yarns about the old country. Awesome.
20.
Look at this. Brian's got pocket jacks now. And seat 3 here is going to raise to 20. Mark, early position with ace-8 suited, Dave. We always wonder why you would do that.
The funny thing is, though, is you're raising an early position here. It's an early position raiser. Would Brian ever just call here with jacks?
Well, let's see. I mean, I don't necessarily think you re-raise here that much.
Both players are very deep. And the problem is,
He's going to re-raise, though.
right, the problem is, though, if Mark just smooth calls, you get no information. Because a good player here might just smooth call with, say, aces, kings, 10-9 of hearts, 5-6 of hearts, ace-8 of spades.
Well,
And this is going to happen. Mark is going to call the raise,
yeah.
and you get no information where you're at here.
Especially because, obviously you got 3 overs to look at here. Well, 9-7 do. It's not a bad flop here for jacks, but
It's
remember,
not. The problem is, if you were Mark, though, wouldn't you have maybe just smooth call here with aces or kings?
aces, kings. You might even do it with queens just to see where you're at.
Yeah. There's no urgency to re-raise. The rest of the field has already been eliminated by your original raise.
And again, we like Brian's game we talked about, but in this game and as we go smaller, we really see people overvalue jacks, and that means it means that much more about overvaluing queens. It almost seems like it's an automatic re-raise in the blinds whenever somebody has jacks or queens, not necessarily thinking about the situation.
Yeah.
Those hands are really not that big.
I have to agree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
I just feel like, and I'm assuming Brian is going to watch this, and I really like his game. Like I said, I mean, I think his game is probably the strongest at this table. But when you get jacks in that position and you're raising out of the blind with jacks against just one opponent, and he calls you, you've learned nothing about his hand.
Yeah. Looks like someone's
Does he
linked.
have jacks again?
He does.
Are you kidding me?
Back to back. Kings, jacks, and then
jacks.
Looks like somebody's linked your MySpace page to the thread. Dave Tuckman. He deleted Tom as his friend. So let's see if Brian's going to re-raise again. We've got a raise here by
Now, this is a different situation. You've got a late position raiser.
Derek, who has been aggressive. Remember, he's supposedly the
Yeah.
crazy guy.
But it's also a late position raise
Right.
as opposed to an under-the-gun raise. And in this case, there's also a caller. Well, actually, there's no caller, but there are 5 players behind
5
you.
limpers, actually, before.
So you might want to eliminate those players. In the other case, it was heads up already.
Yeah.
And this is a case where I
And
probably
this
would
time,
raise.
he just smooth calls. That is something.
Yeah, I would probably have mixed it up. I
Yeah.
probably would have raised this time, and
Yeah.
I probably would have smooth called last time.
Well, that's going to bring in Reggie here with 5-6 of clubs. Again, I don't necessarily know if he's deep enough to make that call. JR is going to call with 6s, and Derek is going or Pete is going to come in with a ace-suited wheel card. So $150 pot here, Dave, going 5 ways. Now, Queen, Deuce, do you throw some money out here with jacks to see where you're at?
I do.
But he checked it. He checked it, and it might get checked around to Derek. Now, if Derek is that laggy, he's going to take a shot here.
So the problem is, you got no information about the other players ready.
Yeah.
They might be sandbagging a queen, checking their queen to the razor,
right,
hoping to trap.
And now the pre-flop razor bets, and Brian has no information, and you don't blame him for folding here, but that bet is going to take it down probably, unless JR wants to get frisky with 6s.
Well, the problem is he can look at it, and he's going to call, I think.
Let's see what he's going to do here.
But the problem was he's calling this, and he's got to hope that none of the players.
Yeah, what happens if somebody else comes?
Well, then you're throwing away your jacks. Your jacks are garbage.
What happens if somebody else calls in between?
It's one of the reasons that you saw him shake his head. One of the reasons why you bet right into it.
Right.
That way you see what everybody does. And if somebody does call you, and if somebody calls you that's somewhat tight, well, then you know where they're at.
Well, the pot is now 350, and Derek is obviously way behind here. Now he picks up hearts here, Dave. Let's see if he takes the card.
And the board, it's a double-paired board.
Oh, it is a double-pair board. You're right. And now he's going to come out and bet 100. Brian is going to come out. He check called, and now he bets 100 here.
I don't mind the play. I mean, I don't think he was scared of Derek. I think he was scared of the players in between them.
Now, the problem, though, is that would somebody say, well, would he come out and bet here with a full house? Good players would. Would Brian do that? Does Derek know that Brian would do that, or would Brian do that?
Brian might. I mean, you got to look at it and go, you know what? I mean, it's a double-paired board. If the guy doesn't have a queen, you really expect him to take a shot at it.
I mean, I love this bet even if he did have a queen as a pot build.
And he likes to do that. He did that when he had the Jack-9.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what Kenna James did in the World Series. Remember against Howard Lederer when he wrapped himself up and wouldn't let him see him? And Derek lays it down, and Brian's going to take it down. And he shows jacks.
Email here from Gary Gomez saying that he's an avid watcher, and he's been playing with Brian for a long time. If you're wondering where this guy came from, he's no joke, and he's definitely the most solid player on the table. Expect to see him a lot more in the near future. He's been a rampage the last few months. We actually learned how to play together just a few years back in our weekly $5 home game. There you go. Funny thing is, though, I think that we were I think it's obvious that Brian probably is the best player at the table. I don't necessarily like the way that he played the last couple of hands, though.
Well, I mean, hey, you and I obviously aren't going to agree with how everybody plays every single hand. Right. But overall, he's played it pretty solid. And I really like the way he played that Jack-9 when he called, and then obviously raised it right away. Didn't slow play or mess around.
And that just goes to show you, actually, thanks for bringing that up, because I forgot to state that why wouldn't you ever raise with 2 pair or 7 on the flop? Because if you wait to the turn to raise, Mark might get away from it. But instead, you raise right away, and ace is just, you can't get away from it.
Exactly.
$30 raise here by Brian with the ace-jack. Reggie is called and Mark is called. Now, Reggie's flopped top pair with a weak kicker.
Tough
Gets
spot for
checked
Reggie.
over here, and Brian takes the card with the gut shot. He does not bet. The turn is a 4. And now Reggie is going to come out and bet here.
And obviously, if Brian had hit his gut shot there, it really would have been a gin card because Reggie would have made 2 pair.
Reggie has bet here. And I assume that Brian is going to get away from it, and he does. Email here from Shane saying he was abusing 2 chicks who lived down the street when the car in front of him stopped and he rear-ended the car and got smoked on his bicycle. I want to see if someone started a thread over here on other topics. Worst bicycle accidents. Oh, not yet.
Button moves over to seat number 2. Small blind $5, big blind $5, and JR's going to limp in under the gun. Seat number 6, Pete.
Raise.
Pete's going to limp in as well, and we're going to get a raise out of Aaron here. Aaron is raising it up with 5-3 of clubs. Buys himself the button by raising with that kind of one gap suited. Unfortunately for him, though, he's in bad trouble suits here because Pete's got queen 10 of clubs. But he does have position. I don't think anybody. I wonder if anybody's going to call this. No, nobody calls, and Aaron picks himself up $25.
It was true.
And you can see Aaron wanted to show, but he resisted and didn't show.
Button's going to move over here to Mark in seat number 3. Again, we're playing 5-5 no limit. Yellow chips are $5 chips. Purples are 25s. Whites are 100s. Actually, I think we only have yellows on the table right now. Blues are 1s. And $300 min, 500 max. You bring your stack up to 500 at any time. Best restricted game in town, Dave. 100 times
All right, I'm gonna be back
to start the big blinds.
And you can really play poker here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a game that you and I will slide into if we're waiting for a bigger game.
Right.
It's a game where you can make some money. I mean, I'd like to say that you can probably, as an hourly rate, I would say that you can probably make a good $40.
50 or 60 maybe.
$50,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, something like. You know, David Kelsey, what was it, a couple weeks ago? He walked out of this game as a $5,000 winner in 3 hours.
Yeah, our biggest winner ever in this game.
Yeah. We had a raise here by Reggie with King Queen suited, and Derek is called with the Queen 9 and diamonds dominated. Flop obviously misses both players, all clubs. Reggie's going to continuation bet here. And
We got word that Derek was a real aggressive player, but he hasn't had much of a go over here.
And the button's going to move over to Dr. BB's son, Chris. Now, it looks like Chris is playing it just as tight as, drinking a Newcastle over there, as his dad. And, you know, we give Dr. BB sometimes a hard time because, you know, Dr. BB isn't necessarily all that tight pre-flop, but he just plays it so passively post-flop, and he always slow plays. And sometimes it drives me nuts. Really like the guy. I like him as a person, but it makes me, like, you know, pull my hair out of my head about how much value he loses sometimes on his big hands.
Well, and some of the hands he lays down are just kind of like mind-boggling.
Right.
You're looking at it going, really? You're really going to lay that down?
Right, right. The Queen 7 hand, of course, from a couple of Fridays ago.
45.
Now, Mark is going to raise it up here in the cutoff. He's got pocket 9s. He's going to make it 45 to go.
And nobody's going to call this. And Mark takes it down. And sometimes if you get this kind of lineup, obviously, sometimes with a lineup like this, the game goes into lulls.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you look at this table and you go, okay, well, seat number 2 is pretty tight, and seat number 4 is pretty tight, and seat number 5 and 6 are both tight. 1 is a solid player. We've got nobody really driving the table. And so goes a cash game sometimes. Obviously, our show is live, unedited, unscripted. When you watch poker on TV, you're pretty much seeing the best 8 hands, best 7 hands. You're really just watching the ESPN highlights of that tournament. We give it all to you.
Does anyone have Leisure Suit Larry on 5 1/4 floppy disk? Oh, man, I think my dad, I think it may be back at my old house. Might still be in some closet. Remember the 5 1/4 floppy disks?
I remember them, yeah.
The floppy disks.
The
they
floppy
weren't
ones,
hard,
yeah.
not the 3 1/2.
I remember.
Yeah. Got a little bet out here by Pete with 5 6 of hearts.
You got so excited over them. You like those, huh?
Floppy disks, man. Well, Mark and Pete have the same hand here. Well, Pete actually is out kicking him, and he's going to bet again.
And obviously, you don't want to get confused here. Mark's got 3 pair, and 3 pair don't play.
Right.
So both players, your best 5 cards. So both players have queens and 5s.
I mean,
and Pete's got a 6 kicker, and Mark's got a 4
Pete has
kicker.
played it solidly. Pete has bet out on the flop and the turn, and Mark continues to call him with just a 5 here.
Well, he
is he
got
going to
lucky enough to
represent a
chop it up.
spade? Check. And he's going to bet 75 now.
I don't think Pete can call this.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what Mark is doing, Dave.
Sometimes he has that Weps syndrome as well. He tries
Yeah.
to win every single hand.
Yeah.
And this one's going to work for him. Now, obviously, it would have been a chopped pot. 7 saved him.
Weps.
Chip, please.
Yeah, good old 5 1/4. Man, I used to play this game called Monkey Island. And, of course, the King's Quest games. DOS 3.1, starting operating system. Put it right in the computer. You need to start it to boot the computer up. There was no inherent operating system. I had an 888 AT&T computer. Way back in the day, man. 1987.
I got to tell you.
Then went up to 33 megahertz, and my hard drive had 20 megabytes of space.
30.
He says this so proudly, too. He's like boasting about like a peacock here.
Seat 1 here is...
Oh, look at his queens and jacks.
Yeah, Brian's made it 30, and Reggie's just smooth called.
And I don't mind that play at all. Now, Reggie's not very deep, and you wonder if this board comes out rags, is he going to get involved?
How about
and
that?
Here it is.
Now, he doesn't have a spade in his hand.
Yeah, he actually has 11 outs to the winner here. Brian's going to double check. He knows he has one black queen in his hand.
But I have a feeling that Brian is going to bet, Reggie might push, and obviously Brian is going to call.
That's a pretty scary board. I mean, 4, 5, 6 of spades, but heads up here.
Yeah, but again, when we look at the stack sizes, he bets 60. Reggie immediately moves over the top. And I think because of obviously the chances that somebody might do it with another overpair or just a high spade or a 7, that Brian is going to call. And Brian has revealed his hand. He has not called yet, but you're allowed to do this in a cash game. It's 150 to call. He's getting about 2 to 1 here.
It's a play I like to do sometimes, obviously. Sometimes I'll reveal my hand, get a little peek and see if my opponent likes it or not. What do I think?
Again, it's about a $300 pot, 150 to call here. He's getting 2 to 1. I just don't see how you lay this down with 2 to 1 here.
The problem is there's just too many hands. You're thinking, okay, yes, you're losing to a flush,
right.
You're losing to a straight, you're losing to a set, but couldn't your opponent have 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks?
Right.
Your opponent even could have ace-7 here. And Reggie's got outs, though. He needs a jack or a spade.
Turns a 9.
Still a jack or a spade.
And the river's a spade.
Oh.
Look at that. Brian makes a set, but it's no good because Reggie's got a flush.
Yeah, queen. There you go. And flush there. Jack high, actually queen high flush.
Yeah.
And Reggie takes it down. And you can't blame Reggie there either, obviously. He's got an overpair to the board, plus a jack of spades in his hands. It's kind of one of those where, hey, it's just poker. Yeah, I got to say, I mean, I'm pretty much like a technical retard. I mean, I really don't know anything. Like, I mean, I have a computer now.
Don't you remember having like 386, 486s before like...
I had a Commodore 64.
Yeah, I remember those ones too. I never had the Commodore route, but that was way back
I'll
in
put
the
it
day.
this way, even when I was in school.
Yeah.
I mean, like, me and my buddies all shared one, like, piece of crap, like, 386.
I remember, Isaac, he was always an Apple guy, but Windows 3.1, when the Windows came out, it was not an operating system. It ran on a DOS platform. Got a raise here by...
No, it was Windows 95 that kind of revolutionized
right,
it all,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
That became the operating system. Seat number 2 is raised with King Queen. And Mark is called with an ace-9 suited.
And he likes to call Reggie in position. Noticed that already.
That's going to bring the cutoff in here with pocket deuces.
And the button now.
Derek's going to call with 7-5 of clubs.
And Derek is dominant at clubs here.
120, so 25 bucks for 120.
Aaron's trying to do a little math out. He says, 25 bucks for 120. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, Dave, I'll get to it at the end of this hand. We actually miscalled some of the action on the hand that Jonas had 3-5 of hearts last night. 5-way action here.
Yeah, I was going to talk about it tomorrow night, actually, when he gets in the booth, but we can touch on it tonight. And you wonder what Aaron's thinking there, because a lot of people misplay that, because they start thinking about it, they go, well, it's $25 to win 120. But I'm at a position.
You don't really have much in your stack.
Well, I'm getting 6 to 1, but I'm against 6 opponents.
Now Mark flopped the best hand, and Reggie did not bet. It gets checked to Mark, and he's going to bet 75. Now, his hand is good, but again, part of the problem here is that if he takes any heat, you never know if you're going to good. Anytime you play, ace-10 is an ace-rag, Dave, but it really is a hand that you're not comfortable with a lone ace. Anytime you've got ace-10 and below and flop a dry ace.
I'm not even comfortable with ace-queen.
I know.
Against a good player.
Yeah.
Against a good player, if the flop comes out like ace-9 blank, ace-10 blank,
yeah.
I hate my hand. Because I'm only losing to ace-jack, and a good player isn't going to commit any chips with ace-jack. You know? Ace-king is actually not even. You've got to really be aware of ace-king as well. I wrote an article, obviously, for... actually, somebody... It was actually, what was his name? Dan Abrams wrote an article in Card Club talking about ace-king. And he sent it to us, so I actually sent him back my response on what I thought about ace-king. And then I put it in my blog. If anybody wants to check it out, it's probably 4 or 5 months ago. What I thought of ace-king and the problems I have with ace-king and so forth and so on. Check that out. But you've got to realize that even if the flop comes out, say, ace-king blank, and you are against a very good, tight player, you probably have the same hand they have.
Right.
Because are they really going to commit all their chips with ace-queen or ace-jack?
Same hand or, you know, that,
Or the set.
that treble top 2 against a set.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to realize, yeah. You know, if the flop comes out ace, king, 4, you bet with your ace, queen, I raise you. How much money are you really going to lose with ace, queen there?
And again, when you talk about ace, queen, you say you're not necessarily comfortable with it. I mean, the value sometimes of ace, queen is just like an ace rag where you want to hit ace, queen, blank, and you want somebody to go broke with ace, king, which is the same thing if you're playing like ace, deuce suited and it comes ace, blank, deuce.
Definitely.
Right. Now, it's going to get raised here by Brian. He's going to raise at 25 out of the small blind. It was limped around. He's got ace, king off suit. And Derek is going to come in here with 6-3 off suit. Well, he's kind of deep-ish. He's got about 500 in front of him.
Hey, he's in position here, and Derek is really reaching. He really wants to try to win a pot here.
He's reaching, though, Dave, but I think you can make the case here that you can play any 2 cards in this spot against a blind raiser. Your head's up in position. Here we go to the flop. Well, he's got a piece of it, but Brian's got king. And again, you always have to be wary, because I always say, you know, if a blind raiser raises, you can use an ace as a scare card. But what happens when the blind raiser raises with ace king? You know?
Well, I mean, the fact that Brian is raising with just big cards and not a big pair really makes it much tougher to play against him.
No, I mean, he's raising both. I mean, he would raise there with kings, aces, or
right,
ace king.
But we know a lot of players that would actually just kind of check it with ace king
Right,
blinds.
right. Maria here has emailed us saying she just started playing 2-4 in Atlantic City. Usually the pots are $30 or so, and the winner will tip like $1 to $2. What's the usual tip in, say, no limit games up and above? And again, it all depends. I mean, we get that question a lot. We never want to. I mean, it's all player dependent, obviously. You know?
Well, tipping is a kind of a personal thing, so whatever you feel comfortable tipping. Seems like a lot of these players like to tip $1 though per hand.
Right.
Sometimes $2. Sometimes more. Button moves over to seat number 9. And Englishman Vaughn there is going to limp in. And we're going to see this 4 ways, $20 pot to the flop. 8-7-6 rainbow.
10-8 here for JR.
Yeah, now seat number 9, Vaughn's at open-ended. He's got 9-4. He had limped in on the button with 9-4 suited. And he's open-ended here.
He's going to call JR's bet. And is Brian going to overcall? He's got a gut shot with bottom pair, I guess, to the 9 here. Now, if he catches the 9, I mean, JR's got the same gut shot with top pair. Now, the turn's a 5, and now Vaughn has a straight. Vaughn now has a straight. And JR is going to lead again here. Now, again, that is a lot. That is much scarier a card for me, that 5 or a 10, than, say, if a 9 were to come.
Right.
Start piecing it through. Someone's going to call you with a 9 there with a rainbow board. It gives them the open-ended straight.
Unless you think they have, say, 10-8.
And now Vaughn is going to raise.
And that'll probably get JR out of this hand, obviously. JR really can't beat anything now. He's got top pair, got a gut shot straight draw. But he's got to realize that his opponent probably has the straight already, or at least 2 pair or better.
And with every excited old computer comment, it becomes increasingly more clear why exactly Bart is single.
Classic.
Come on, I'm not really a computer geek. I just remember old school stuff. I mean, didn't everybody?
Were you a computer geek when you were like 12?
Not really. I mean, I just played like a lot of video. I mean, I knew about computers and I played a lot of video games. This was when I was like 8. Like
Right.
I was in 3rd grade. You know.
You by yourself? That means you got to buy the table. I knew that was coming sometime.
Bud moves over here to seat 1. You see the movie War Games?
Oh yeah, man, that's great.
I mean, the old school modem with when Matthew Broderick's using the phone. I forget even what that thing is called. But you put the phone into the.
That was a classic.
Yeah.
War Games, great movie.
Got a raise here by Vaughn with King Jack off suit.
35.
He's going to make it 35 to go.
And I like the raise here. I mean, he's raising in late position. He buys himself the button here. Now, obviously, he doesn't have the best hand right now. There's a couple of weak aces out there. But if everybody misses, they'll check him, and he should be able to take this one away.
4 plays.
And the pot is now, wow, the pot is $140. 10, 10, 3. And nobody has a 10, nobody has a 3, nobody has a pair. And you imagine if everybody checks to Vaughn, he should be able to bet this and take it down. But he's going to take the card. And there's the king. He gets lucky enough to spike it.
Yep.
Probably could have taken it down right away, and they all checked him again, and this time he's going to bet. And it's surprising, you know, we got this report from somebody that Derek is kind of a laggy player. And all I've noticed out of Derek is that he likes to call a lot of raises pre-flop with really crappy hands.
Right, well, he hasn't really hit anything, but yeah.
Isn't a laggy player
Really
kind of trying to
pushes the
steal
action.
pots?
Yeah, tries to push the action.
I mean, there, everybody checked once.
Yeah.
You think maybe he would try to fire and steal it, right? No, he said, forget it. I don't have anything. I'm going to throw it away.
No, just one.
I see Hawk 59 there on 2+2. He posts something.
No, this is somebody actually started that thread I asked for. Other topics about.
Oh,
ice
sweet.
glasses.
There you go.
This guy Hawk 59. He's never posted on the show, but we're going into other forum lands. He says when I was in grammar school, a kid cut the brake lines on another kid's bike that he'd been fighting with. The kid with the broken brakes lived on a steep hill. Next time he went out on his bike, he went careening down the hill, fell, fractured his skull, and missed an entire year of school. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
That is crazy.
I thought we were going to get, like, funny stories.
Well, I mean, isn't that a type of thing where the kid goes to juvie for, like, 10 years?
Could have, yeah.
Attempted murder? Jeez. We're heads up here. We're going to raise here by JR with pocket sevens, and Vaughn, the Englishman, is called with 4 or 5.
Yeah, and JR should be able to continue here and take it down. But I think, well, look at that. JR is checked. Vaughn is bet. And JR really is now put in a spot where he's got to throw this away. And I always find it funny that people just check that pocket pair. And look at that. And Vaughn shows the 4-5.
You've been stealing this whole
Here it
time.
goes. The game is on.
And look at that. The game's on. They say it. Now, it's funny. Last night, I was going to talk about this tomorrow night. But the hand with Jonas, by the way, hand I went crazy on, where Jonas actually, there was a raise, call. Then Jason Cacciatani moved all in. And then Jonas raised another $3,000 to isolate Jay Cacciatani with just 5-3 of hearts. And I was going crazy going, what is he doing? He only got 5 high. And hopefully everybody remembers that show from last night, in that hand. Anyway, we incorrectly stated the values of it all. And it made it look Jonas actually kind of stupid. And in the end, I guess it makes us look stupid. But obviously our show is live.
Right.
We do make mistakes once in a while. And I'll get into it in a second. Got a couple of big hands here. Ace-King, well, not really that big. Ace-King and King-Jack. We're going to see it heads up between our Texas boys.
So let's see if they play against each other here, Dave.
Apparently they do.
All right.
Well, actually, wow, we got a raise.
Yeah, limp re-raise here by Pete.
Well, it was actually a straddled spot.
Oh, excuse me, straddle pot.
That's all right. It's not like you're not.
There was a raise under the gun, and now Pete has called and then raised it up here. Now, he knows Derek, obviously, because they play together down in Texas. And Pete takes it down. Anyway, so the hand last night, the action, the way we thought it went down, we thought Russ had raised the pocket tens.
And we thought Jonas was in the blind.
Right.
Yeah.
We thought Russ raised the $300. There was a call to $300, another call to $300, and then Jason Cacciatani moved in. So we actually thought Jonas had no money involved, and we didn't really understand the play. Because in that case, obviously, Jonas would have had to put in about $1,000 to win, say, $1,900, not quite getting 2-1, and the play really makes no sense then. But the way the action actually went down, just letting you know, Jonas actually raised up to $300. Russ called the tens. Seat number 5 called. Seat number 6 called. And then Jason in seat number 7, he then moved in for $900. So he called the $300. It was $600 more. And at that point, the pot was actually the pot was actually $1,800. $600 to call.
Right.
And I guess
Jonas getting 3-1.
Jonas was getting 3-1, and he figured, if I'm going to get 3-1 here, I'm going to isolate and see if I can win this.
Right, because he was dominated, but he figured no one else is really that strong because no one else re-raised him. We thought it was really a big risk because what if somebody had a big pair, but he was the pre-flop raiser and everyone just smooth called?
Right. We all thought Russ was the pre-flop raiser, which obviously a big difference. Set of tens here for Vaughn.
Top set here for Vaughn, 10, 6 deuce.
And Vaughn just showed a bluff. He just showed a 5-high bluff. You wonder if that's going to work.
And he's going to bet it. I love it. He bets out on top set when it gets checked to him. And is Eric going to try to now turn on the lagginess? Is he going to make a move?
But Derek might.
Derek. Is he going to turn on the lagginess that we've
Well, Vaughn
supposedly heard
just
about?
showed a bluff. And he's thinking about it. You can see the wheels turning. You can see it. This guy just showed me a 5-high bluff.
Nope.
I'm not going to make a move, though.
You gotta show it. You gotta show the bluff.
And he showed the set of 10s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So anyway, the way it worked out, and it was funny, right after the words we were actually saying, you probably need about 3 to 1 to make that play. And sure enough, Jonas was getting 3 to 1 exactly.
Yeah.
Straddle for the table.
We incorrectly thought he was getting about 1.8 to 1, 1.6 to 1, which really made no sense. I just didn't understand the play.
And obviously when we went out there, it made a whole lot more sense.
Yeah.
And that oftentimes will happen because we don't necessarily... I mean, sometimes Don is doing a chip count, or we didn't necessarily get the action correct.
Well, obviously, the show's live.
Yeah.
We're going to screw things up once in a while.
It's the last straddle.
And that makes a lot more sense. Look at this. You started a whole thread, man.
Yeah, all right.
Well, it was actually Sam Caroon did. Sam Macaroon run. Thank you, Sam Macaroon run.
Anybody but C8 want to TikTok?
Limp. Straddled pot here. Limp.
Everybody but seat 8 needs one.
Now, Reggie limped in there with ace ace 3 off, Dave, from mid position.
And Derek's going to raise this to the big blind, but he's only making it 20 more.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. I always question. You know, somebody emailed us and said these guys are pros from Houston. I don't really know what the hell Derek's been doing. I got to be honest with you. I mean, he's going to raise 20 more, and a straddle pot is now 40. He makes it 20 more with Jack 9 offsuit from the blind.
Right, obviously, that's not really going to eliminate anybody. All it's going to do is you're basically making it a bigger pot, and you have a bad hand out of position.
Well, here we go. Well, Queen 5-10. Well, Pete has got a flush draw here. And JR's flop top pair. And
Derek's open-ended.
Derek is open-ended here with Jack 9. And it gets checked to JR, and he's going to move in. I mean, if you're going to race with Jack 9, wouldn't you fire out into that flop? I don't quite understand it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, I have no idea. If you're going to raise with Jack 9 there, I don't understand why you wouldn't bet that. I got to tell you.
Well, now Pete really has a dry flush draw. Got checked around to JR. He has bet. He has moved all in. I believe that Pete is getting about 2 to 1, but he doesn't know what the people behind him are going to do. Well, he's going to call.
And wow, and Derek's going to call
that's
too.
That's going to bring Derek in. And Derek is...
Yeah, but he's bringing Derek in. Derek doesn't think anybody crossed by the flush draw here?
I mean, Derek's straight or no good if a club has come here.
Derek's only got 6 outs to the win here, unless he catches some sort of runner.
Well, Pete has the 8 of clubs in his hand, so that's not going to get him involved. Now, the king of clubs would hurt him because he would make a straight.
So he only has
Pete
6
to get
outs. He has
flush.
3 kings and 3 eights.
Turns to 10.
That doesn't change anything.
Check here on the side. And the river here's a 4.
And JR's going to win this with queens and 10s. He's got queens and 10s with a 9 kicker.
You know, this actually might be a case where, and we have not seen anything sketchy between Pete and Derek, and I'm not accusing them of anything, but it actually might be a case where I wouldn't be upset with JR if he knew Pete in seat 6 and Derek in seat 7 were friends and asked to see their hands the way that hand played out. And it was nothing fishy about the hand. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, he's all in. Now you get a call, and then the guys pretty much check it down on the side in a dry side pot.
Right.
Yeah.
Better chance of shaking my sister off.
That didn't seem like anything weird.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, you know, if JR knew that those 2 guys were friends, that's what the rule is there for.
No,
that would be
right.
the only reason why I would ever ask.
No, definitely.
And there was nothing that went fishy down there. It's just...
It's funny, a lot of times we get questions of like, hey, is it safe to play on Live at the Bike? This is probably the safest place in the whole world to play poker.
Right.
Because you've got like 10 individual eyes always watching the game. And like last night, actually, I immediately, when I didn't the 5-3 of hearts play, when it didn't make any sense to me, I was like, what is going on here?
Yep.
And afterwards, when I found out, it made a lot more sense. But before, it didn't make anything. Derek's got kings now. He finally picked up a real hand.
40 more.
And he's going to make it 40 more. Notice how he makes 20 more with Jack 9, but 40 more with kings.
Hey, look at Aaron call here with King Jack offsuit in the big blind.
With
man.
no money.
Yeah.
I don't even care if I hit it. I'm going all in.
And JR has got ace 7. I mean, I think he's getting a little bit impatient, Dave, but I've never seen him call here. No, he's going to call.
And Derek gets one call, and I guess it's the one person you want to call, huh?
Yeah. Well, 10-6-4. I was going to say, is Aaron going to get in trouble with lingering jack flops? And it went check, check. Derek did not bet. And the turn is a 6. Check, check again? And the river is a third heart.
And 10.
And now King's bets up. I don't know what Derek is doing here. I got to tell you. Very, very strange.
That's how they do it in Houston, man.
No.
It's only two things in Houston. Steers and, well.
Again, you can email us at
I mean, I have seen sometimes, if you think your opponent is somewhat impatient, sometimes you can check to him one time,
Yeah.
If I called, I wouldn't have seen that river either. So. If anyone else is in, that's oh, I have to put in a blind too. Come on, button raise. I dare you.
Whatever that wine was,
I have a triple Louis XIV.
Button moves over here to seat 7. JR's limped in here with a King 9.
25. 20 more.
And Pete is going to raise here to 25 with King 7 of spades. And Aaron here is going to move in with 6s. Well, a limp, a raise, and a re-raise. Now, the problem, though, is that normally, I don't know if there's a, well, in this case, I guess there is fold equity. He makes it 100 more. Okay. This might be a time where you just gamble it up if you're going to rebuy it. But, again, you can bring your stack up in this game at any time. It's not like, that would be more of a move, Dave, that you would do in the 200 game when you have to be below 100 to rebuy if you've got 120.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess. We've seen Aaron on this game in this game a few times, and he's a really nice guy. His game is a little bit less than inspiring.
Sometimes people raising my blind. That's all. I'm just a little upset.
I just never understood really that play in the sense of it's not a tournament.
Right.
You don't need to double up here, and especially with Aaron, he's going to rebuy. He has no problem doing that.
Well, it's funny. Remember, I had this discussion. I said it on the air a couple weeks ago about Nicole Pepe. I said, why do you play, and other people do play in the 500, 510 game when you can play the 500 in this game? She said, well, I like to play short stack poker. I like to play Barry Greenstein's short stack theory. And you know what? That's fine. But every time we see someone play short stack, they're playing definitely not the way that you would play with the short stack theory.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's no one.
The thing
Have you ever seen anybody in a game that has played with a short stack properly? You know what I mean? It's come in with the mindset, okay, I'm going to play on the short stack. I mean, usually they're making all kinds of mistakes if they're going to play on the short stack.
Yeah, I mean, it really puts you in a tough spot because there are a lot of plays that you can't make, and there are a lot of plays. I mean, I'll put it this way: we've never seen somebody play it perfectly Barry Greenstein-esque. That's for sure.
Right.
And the one thing I have with Nicole Pepe, though, the problem with that is, so if she doubles up or triples up, what does she do? Does she just get up and leave?
I don't know.
And then rebuy for 500 later on?
Got a $25 raise here with pocket tens.
Yep, that's Chris.
What?
And seat number 8, Aaron is going to call with King Queen.
Oh, what is it? What is it, full?
Vaughn is going to call also. Well, Vaughn is calling with a
Quiet,
suited
not
king
make
on the
fun of
button.
anybody. Come on in.
And Brian is not going to play. We're going to see this 3 ways. About a $90 pot. It's actually a 4-way pot. I'm sorry. Seat number 2, Reggie also called with 5-4 diamonds. And Reggie's the only one who's got a pair, who actually flopped a pair, I'm sorry, because Chris has got an overpair. He's got 10s. And, wow, look at this bet. Jeez. The pot is about $110, and he just moved in for $300.
Not like my sister's mullet right now.
Now, some people might look at this going, wow, what a huge overbet. But at the same time, I'm going to just throw this at you. What is he supposed to do? If he bets 110 and gets raised, is he really going to be able to throw it away? Sometimes if you find yourself pot committed no matter what, you feel like, well, you know what, I might as well just push it in, and if somebody wants to call me, they can.
You know the funniest thing about this hand, too, is that you look at this hand. Now, let's take a look at this hand because it's interesting. Say I had aces, okay, and
Yes.
I raised. And I bet the flop, and now a guy has moved in, okay? You know, you're only going to see that move with tens really once in a blue moon where you are ahead because the guy's done this with tens, or say the flop came out 8 high and he did it with nines.
Oh, is that a 9?
You have to be really wary, like what Mark got caught up with aces before, that the guy has something bigger than one pair. It seems like everyone is in a rush with aces to get their money in because the guy must have nines or tens.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, obviously,
you've got to put your opponent on a range of hands, right?
Right.
And depending on what the flop is and how the pre-flop action went, you can start to try to figure out what your opponent might have. But I guess, in that case, though, a lot of times somebody will look at that bet and go, wait, he's betting $275 into a $120 pot. What is he doing?
right.
Well, sometimes it's not the worst move in the world because you're pot committing yourself anyway.
$250 or $16.
Ace queen offsuit here for Reggie. He's in the small blind. And nobody else has got much of anything. Mark's got a king jack in the big blind. Looks like it's getting limped around. Is Reggie going to raise this in the small blind? Let's see. Looks like he is, yeah.
Okay, he's going to raise. I might make that move 50% of the time, 50-50. Depends on the table, how passive it is, Dave. Mark is going to call here with a king jack. That's definitely a hand that I'm not calling with. You know what? I'm actually meant to do this at the beginning of the show, and you've kind of done it. I've kind of backed off, but you should be doing the play-by-play tonight to give yourself, practice for tomorrow. So it's you, man. You've been doing it anyways.
I'm okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
You don't want to do it?
I feel confident in it. I'm okay.
Actually, I just wanted to work on my color.
I'm all for it. It's okay. Derek open-ended here with 7-4 with 5-6 there. 7-4 flop rainbow. Nobody else has got much of anything. Aaron's with a gut shot here, and Derek is moving all in.
It's a semi-bluff. Reggie didn't follow through on the flop. He missed everything.
Well, it was 5 ways. The pot's about $120. Not a terrible play.
Trust me, it's a complete.
Now, obviously, you're never going to get anybody with a 7 to lay this down.
You're not going to get an overpair to lay it down.
You don't think somebody would lay down 8s or 9s here?
Maybe 8s or 9s. I don't know, though.
There's no way you caught it.
I don't know. At this level, I'm just not sure if he do.
Aaron, he's thinking about calling with a gut shot to the 6 here.
I can't.
He can't call.
I can't.
No one has anything here, obviously.
Right. It's one of those times where obviously it's a good semi-bluff by Derek. It's one of those things where he's hoping everybody's got big cards, big Broadway cards. And, if he gets called, he's got a lot of outs. And you can see that you see one hand there, King Jack versus 5-6. He's actually a favorite.
Yeah, no pair with a draw versus no pair without a draw.
Exactly. Derek there actually had, 14 outs to the win.
I just didn't believe you, so I feel like I should go for it.
Against just, say, Ace-King or Ace-Queen.
I had 8-5.
Yeah, remember, great quote from War Games, want to play a game?
Oh, there. I love that. I was so into trying to figure out a way to, hack into my school's thing so I could get my grades.
Change your grades.
Oh, man.
Look at this. We got jacks and seat 4 and queens for JR under the gun here. JR's going to bring it in for a raise.
Now, Aaron's got an ace-jack. Now, ace-jack is normally a garbage hand, but for Aaron in this case, he will commit all his shifts.
I think he might push here. I think you're right.
He will commit all his shifts with this hand. I guarantee it.
Now, Chris, we talk about him being Dr. BB's son. Might this get you away from jacks? Now, the game is a short stack game, but JR's raised under the gun. Another guy's pushed. Now, I know you don't give a credit for Aaron, really, having a big hand necessarily, but you wonder if Chris is, is aware of Aaron's game.
Is Aaron going to... I'm just betting that, ace-jack to him, ace-jack offsuit really looks like a big hand, and he's not going to play it.
Wow.
Well, you know what?
Nice
Good for him. Good for him. He sticks that right in my ass.
Now, let's see what Chris does. We talk about JR is raised under the gun. Would you really re-raise with jacks
I gotta
here
tell
in the blinds?
I just call this.
Yeah.
And then depending on what the flop comes out, actually, no matter what the flop is, I'm doing a stop and go here. No matter what, I'm calling him, and then I'm going to bet $50 on the flop regardless of what comes.
He has called. And look at this. JR has bet. He's hit top set. You would probably bet here, right?
I would bet 50. Yeah. Like I said, I'm doing a stop and go here. I'm going to hope that JR has missed the flop.
And that's what it looks like Chris is going to do here.
And I would put $50 into the flop.
He's going to bet 40. Okay.
It's fine. And I like the play. And then depending on what JR does here, I will then obviously
Now, if
cross
I'm-
that bridge when I come to it.
I like maybe a raise to 80 here from JR,
And I easily throw away my jacks here.
and he is going to mini raise it. I like the way that both players have played this hand.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'd like the stop and go move, a lot of people are saying, well, what is if you get your jack? Same difference. You're still putting money in there. But you've got to realize that if an ace or a king come out there, it's scary for JR. If JR is raising with ace king and it comes out 10 high, well, then it's still you obviously you don't know what JR has here. And by putting some money in the pot right away, you find out.
Now, remember, we talk about, sometimes we give players who play a lot in the show, like a Barry Woods and some other players, a hard time about paying attention to the players you're playing. You've made the stop-and-go play here with jacks, and JR has raised you on the flop. I think it's an easy lay down here for Chris.
Easy lay down. I mean, JR's got minimum here of ace, queen, maybe aces, maybe kings.
In this case, 3 queens.
Right.
And, well-played hand there.
It really is.
Both
That was a
sides.
great hand there by Chris. I really like the way he played it.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, he probably played that hand better than Dr. Beebe would have played it.
Because Dr. Beebe might have just check-folded, or he might have gotten involved. He might have even check-called one time. Maybe.
Or he probably check folds, and he gets no information whatsoever, and maybe gets bluffed out by a guy who ace king.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think of the hands that JR would raise in that first position spot, and you've got to realize that ace king or ace queen is one of them.
Out of pair, what should I do?
Dynamite wouldn't get me out there.
Now, I was just talking about the stop and go. I was referencing that. If you're not familiar with what a stop and go is, check out our website. Go to liveatthebike.com. On the left-hand side, there's an as seen on Live at the Bike, kind of our terminology. And we have a bunch of phrases and words that Bart and I use that are defined there. So check it out. A lot of other things you can check out on the website as well.
I'm already in for 1,000.
Seat
A lot of
7
diamonds
here
out
is
there.
raised here with 8, 9 of diamonds, and Derek is going to take it down. I see that Jimmy Pancake has asked me a question on 2+2. He sees that seat 3 is drinking a pale ale, and I'm trying to think of what pale ales they serve here.
They're headed this way. They kind of went, and now they're like...
Oh, it's Newcastle. Is it Newcastle? Newcastle's a pale ale, is it? It's what? It's a brown. Brown. Yeah.
I'm trying to
The
pale
point
ale.
of
It's
the
like
question-
Sierra Nevada pale ale.
The point of actually, you're right. He is drinking Sierra Nevada. You're right.
Okay, there you go.
He says, "What's your stance on ales?" Well, pale ale isn't really an ale, and it's not a malt liquor. I mean, that was the question. I mean, it's a little bit different there. But thank you for bringing beer up into the conversation, Jimmy Pancake.
And if anybody's listening from Guinness, we're looking for sponsors.
Yeah.
We're not looking for much, okay? A couple of cases, that's it.
Well,
We'll plug you every single show.
like I said, I'm partial to my Czech Pilsners. I think they're the best beer in the world.
Command or your name? Or a suggestion?
Is it quiet before the
Yeah, you do like that. That was actually pretty good when you
I brought that over,
Yeah.
right? Pilsner Kel.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Cheaper than water, man, if you're in Prague. 50 cents for like a big 20-ounce mug of draft beer. Best draft beer in the world. Get a raise here by Vaughn with ace-7 of hearts. And JR's called with pocket threes, and he's going to get called in 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. So that is a $150 pocket, 30-ton spot.
It's a nice pot.
And Pete is supposed to be a tight one, Dave. He called with jack-twos of spades in the blind.
How about a heart draw here for Vaughn? And is Vaughn going to put some money in? If I'm Vaughn, I'm betting this.
Well, he was the pre-flop raiser.
Oh, I thought it was Mark, actually.
No, I think it was Vaughn.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh, then he's definitely going to bet it.
Yeah, and he bets 40 into a $150 pot here.
It's not a terrible bet. I'm going to just throw this at you. I probably would bet more, yes.
Yeah.
But if he gets a couple of callers, is it the worst thing in the world? Remember, he's got the nut flush draw.
Well, now Mark is thinking, would this guy really bet 40 here into a $150 pot? I've got a 9. Do I have the best hand? Now, you also have to wonder, though, a guy might make a weak bet here with jacks or queens, so it's not like you can just call all the way either, because your hand might not be good.
Right.
He might not have a king, but he still could beat your hand, right?
Definitely. Or he might have even flopped a set of kings.
Yeah.
Kind
Or
of
a
messing
set of
around.
nines,
Right.
something like that. That actually might get it done. Although, is Derek going to call with bottom pair with clubs? He is going to call.
Well, that's
and
the
he's
one
going to check raise here. He is going to check raise.
And Vaughn can call this, I think. I really think with the money that's in the pot, you got to look at the pot here. There's 150 plus 40 plus 40.
That's 310 plus 200. 510, 200 to call, and he calls.
Yeah, he's getting more than 2 to 1 on his money. He's getting 2.5 to 1 on money. And he's actually a favorite here because he's got 2 overcards
It's
to the pair
a
of sixes.
$700 pot. He probably could have just pushed back there, too. It doesn't really matter. Well, the turn is a 6, and Derek spikes trips, and he moves in. He moves in, and Vaughn is going to call here. This is going to be over $1,000 pot.
And Vaughn needs a heart and only a heart, and it can't be a 9.
And it cannot be a 10 of hearts either here.
Right.
Cannot be a 9 or a 10 of hearts here. Vaughn needs a heart. And the river's a 6, and Derek makes what?
Tell me you have a jackpot.
I wish we did.
How could you have a jackpot?
I don't know. That's always...
Tell me you have a jackpot. What hand could possibly be a jackpot here? The 10 doesn't even play. I mean, anybody wondering what a jackpot is, it's our bad beat jackpot. If you lose with 4 of a kind, if you lose with aces full, 2 4 of a kind or better, and both hole cards play, it's jackpot. But Derek's 10 doesn't even play. Derek's got 4 6s and a king.
Email here by Brian Cullum. He says, hey guys, is there any delay on the webcast, or is it a live image? Well, yes, there is a delay. We delay the show to protect, obviously, the integrity of the game, so someone can't, call to ring a hand. In the smaller games, Dave, like this game is a 5-minute delay. Now in the bigger games, we've actually moved it to a 10-minute delay, because sometimes we get into hands where the hand will go for more than 5 minutes, and we don't want to pressure the players into acting. If a hand goes along for a long time, we actually had, I think it was the Grinder versus Barry Woods, one of the hands where, we had eaten up our delay, and he didn't really get enough proper time to make a move on it.
I mean, it's essentially live. I mean, you've got to realize, obviously, when you're watching something on ESPN or you're listening to something on the radio, none of that is actually live either. There's always a little bit of like a 7-second delay or a 4-second delay or whatever it is.
If I raise 200, do you call it?
And obviously, we have the same thing.
Got a raise here by Vaughn with ace queen.
Come on, somebody call.
And I don't know if anybody's going to call this or not. Well, Derek might call it 9, 10 of spades. And now that Derek's got chips, I'd like to see how he plays. It's always interesting when a laggy player, somebody who's a little bit loose, a little bit aggressive, gets some chips. Will he try to push this table around now that he's doubled up?
If I go in blind, I guess my he's right.
And obviously, Vaughn's weak bet of $40 kind of gave the opening to Derek to think that he was weak.
All right, let me look real quick.
What has happened here?
There was a mess up with the Shuffle Master Shuffler.
I'll tell you what it was afterwards.
Okay.
That was it.
I see. It was just a red light.
Yeah, we got heads up here. 9, 10 of spades versus ace queen.
I mean, sometimes I might actually fold that hand heads up out of position. Call me real tight.
The 9, 10, you mean?
Yeah, 7, 4, 9 here.
Out of position, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Derek is flop top pair, and Vaughn has made a $30 continuation bet, and let's see what Derek is going to do here. He is just going to check call.
Oftentimes I might check call here, and then I might bet turn
Bet a
if a
safe
non-scary
card on the turn
out.
comes, like right now. How about
Exactly.
a 6?
I would definitely bet about $75 to 100.
And it goes check, check. Ace queen takes the card, and the river's a 7, and Derek never put any more money in there.
And that's the reason I'm betting my 9. I don't want to let a free card come up in the river and beat me. And you've got to realize that if an ace, a king, a queen, or a jack come off, they're all scary cards, and I might not be able to call a river bet.
It's funny. I don't know how many English listeners we have out there, but on the topic of beer, in terms of a large commercial beer, the only beer that Americans really, mass consume is like a Newcastle. There are no real English lagers that anybody drinks.
English lagers,
I
no.
mean, I know Carling is an English lager. It's sponsor of the Premier League, but we don't really
But that's
get
not
that.
really.
Yeah, it's usually just Newcastle, which obviously is not a lager. Let's take a look at a chip count here.
Oh, there's almost 6,000 on this table. That's a lot of money for this table. Brian's at the table covered at 1,200. Now Derek's got almost 1,000. Vaughn with 900. And Aaron bringing up the rear. He's only got $200 in front of him. And let's see how they're doing. Brian's the big winner. He's up 700. Vaughn up 500. Derek, just by winning that one pot, suddenly he's up $250. JR and Aaron and Chris all down over $500 tonight. Keep track of that throughout the night.
Yep.
You know what I had today, actually? It was kind of cool. I was having lunch, right? And it was a hot day. Opened up myself a big, one of those big 22-ounce cans of Sapporo.
Oh, okay.
And I split that. It's a nice, I got to tell, for like in a hot day, like a nice summer beer, it's actually not bad at all.
Now, Vaughn here, he's going to bet out here with a flush draw. He's got queen 6
He's got
and
a pair as well, yeah.
Big hand, and he's going to take it down. Call me foo-foo.
Foo-foo?
But some of the Belgian beers that kind of are like, fruity beers. you can kind of drink those in the summertime.
Those like chocolate beers? Or
No, like a peach beer or an orange beer, and they're usually Belgian.
No, I mean, I love a big heavy beer. But if it's 85, 90 degrees outside,
you're not going to be drinking like some Sam Adams Boston Select room temperature over the summer. No way.
Right. I actually like. I got to tell you. I like a good wheat beer, like a good Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
In the summer, it's a great beer, especially if you're having soft shell crabs or something like that.
You do a lot of drinking before the show, don't you? You're talking about wine drinking yesterday. Your wife had made you some baked ziti, and now you're drinking 22 ounces of can of beer in the afternoon at your house.
Yeah, pretty much. Is that a problem?
20 more.
If I was allowed, I'd be drinking during the show too.
Aaron has raised it to 20 here with 4-3 ops.
They came out with a new rule. We got to clock out before we drink.
It's actually Aaron raised it with Queen 5 offsuit here. He's raised it almost 40% of his stack out of the blind, only to 20 with Queen 5.
I can't bet it until I check it.
King 9-3 here with a couple of spades.
If I can't get drunk at work, I better come to the work job.
Oh, wait, I shouldn't even.
And Derek is going to bet 75 here with 3-4.
75.
Well, you know what? Hey, he's playing the button there. If everybody's going to check to him, he's got a pair. Why not bet it? I'd probably do the same thing with 3-4 if I was actually in there.
I just don't understand exactly what Aaron is doing. I mean, we're not going to continue to grill the guy, but...
No, I mean, obviously, a lot of these players, most of the players that come down here are playing to have a good time. They're recreational players. They're not professionals. And there's really no point in sitting here grilling.
All right.
But, right, exactly. But we do it anyway. Button moves over to Aaron in seat number 8. Small blind is our young chap from England. Big blind is Brian, also $5, and Reggie's going to be under the gun.
If everybody would have put in $10,
And he's going to toss in $1. Now Vaughn has got pocket aces in the small blind. Trying to think if anybody else has got much of anything. Wow, it looks like seat number 1 has pocket 10s. Brian in the big blind. And this will be interesting because when Vaughn raises this, which he's going to do right now, what does Brian do with 10s, the big blind?
Really? Who's calling?
Well, we haven't seen Brian play in almost an hour here, Dave. I mean,
Well, I got to tell you, now this guy makes it 60 to go. Now, this is really a math question. You've got to look at how much money he's got, how much money you've got.
Can we get a shot of Vaughn's chip stack over
They
there?
both have over. Now, Brian's got him covered.
Yeah, he's got it. Yeah, I think it's enough here, Dave, to play it as a set.
It's 60 to call.
Yeah.
I think you can call this. You have position on a guy. I think you can call here. If you hit your set, you can double up. Oftentimes we like to say if you're going to call with a pocket pair just to hit the set, if you, let's say you put the guy in aces here, you're calling just for a set, you want to make at least 10 or 11 times. Since the bet was $60, can you make 600 here? Yes, you can.
Yeah, it looks like Vaughn's got about maybe 800 in front of him. Obviously, Brian has him covered.
Yeah, I think you're making 13 times the bet size, plus the dead money that's already in there. I think it's an easy call.
He makes the call. And hopefully, if you call this raise, hopefully you get position. But
and look at this, nobody else
Derek
calls.
is going to come in stubbornly. Or maybe not stubbornly, because he's suited. You know what? 6-7's not suited. And now Aaron's in there with Queen 4 clubs. I mean, that's going to make no difference.
But, I mean, for Brian, though, he loves it because Brian's going, I'm getting set or nothing.
I don't mind the call here by Derek now that he's deep either. He's in position. You got two guys with deep stacks in front of you. Well, Jack 6-9, obviously not the flop Brian wanted. And I assume that Vaughn is going to bet big here, and he should just take it down.
And this is the value. Now, obviously, if this flop had come out, say, 10-9-6, I can't imagine Vaughn doing anything different here. He probably makes it 200. Brian would then make it 400 to go, 500 to go, and all the money would probably go in. I think Brian's got to realize that he's behind here.
Absolutely. I mean, he's betting the pot size bet here.
No, that's not a meek bet. I mean, you saw earlier on when he had the flush draw, he only bet $40 into a $200
Remember, Brian
bet.
doesn't have position in the hand either. He still has Derek behind him. So it's just...
Yeah, Brian could be... I mean, Derek could be in there with a set of 6s or 7-9s. You never know.
I got to tell you, say I had ace-jack of hearts there in the blind, and I was Brian, and I called.
Right.
And now Brian has bet into me like this, and I have Derek behind me. I think I fold ace-jack here without real much.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you call ace-jack
Well,
then?
it would be very, very questionable. Yeah.
I mean, ace-jack suited maybe, but I don't even think I'd call ace-jack suited. I got to tell you, I'd probably lay down. I'd probably put this guy in aces. Oh, wow, and look at that. Derek would have turned 2 pair.
Yeah. Third spade, though, and the river is 3.
And Derek would have won a huge pot, but there's no way he gets there, though.
Remember, though, again, you talk about, I mean, Derek said, oh, man, I'm going to take one off. If you're going to take one off because you think, you know, oftentimes we talk about this when chasing straight draws. If you're going to take one off thinking, all right, I'm deep enough where if I hit trips or 2-pair, the guy, he traditionally will never get away. Even if the board pairs, he'll never get away from an overpair. You should take one off on a rainbow board, not a 2-flush board, because now he takes one off and the 7 comes. Well, look what else is out there. It's the third spade, Dave.
You've also got to be really deep. You've got to start thinking about it going.
I'm saying if I am really deep, though, I mean, I think you might take it off on a
Super
rainbow
deep,
board.
though.
On a rainbow board, not a 2-flush board, right?
I mean, hey, if the guy bets 200 in the turn and I've got 6 or 7,000 and he's got me covered, and I know he's going to pay me off a lot if I hit my
but I'm saying if you do that on that board, now I made 2-pair, but it's the third spade.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everything's going to shut down.
That's
there.
why Derek laid it down. I have no problem. Obviously, no problem with him laying it down. Now, we were talking about, obviously, if Brian had Jack 9 there, what would he do? I'm sorry, Ace Jack. And I got to say, I mean, Ace Jack, I probably don't call a $60 raise out of the blind there with Ace Jack in this game. I got to put the guy in an overpair. I figure if an ace comes, the guy's either hit his set and I'm really unlucky, or I'm not going to get any action anyway because he's got kings or queens. And if a jack comes, I really don't know where I'm at. But with a pocket pair, oftentimes you can call with a pocket pair because it's pretty much, set or you're out, And we got a raise here at a seat 4. And I haven't even looked at his hand, but I'm guaranteed it's pretty good here. Let's see what it is. It's actually, wow. And seat 4 did raise, made it $20 to go with 4-5 suited. And we're going to see this 3 ways, I believe. So it's a $60 pot. And Derek also has 4-5. The flop is king 4-2. And if Chris follows through on here, he'll probably win this. Pete's got 7s, but that king is definitely a scary card. You can't beat ace-king right now. You also can't beat an overpair. You can't beat queens, you can't beat jacks. But look at this. Pete's going to put some money in there anyway. He's going to call. And Derek's now got 4-5. He's got the same hand as Chris, but he has backdoor clubs. And if he puts a kind of a play on these guys, I don't think either one can call if he were to raise this. And he's going to call. He's going to look to see if he can hit his 2-pair trips. Little does he know that he's got very few outs. Turn is a deuce of hearts. Changes nothing. 7s are still good, and now Chris is going to shut down. Pete now thinks he's probably good here. He's going to bet it. You wonder if Pete actually thinks he's good or he needs to bet to try to get maybe 10s or jacks out of there, or even 9s. And either way, Pete's going to win the pot.
No.
Chris kind of played it like he either had, say, ace-queen, ace-jack, or maybe he had something like 8s or 9s and was scared of that king.
He gave me 400. Yeah, I'm absolutely positive. I had 400 behind.
You announced 400.
He did announce 400. I announced 400 too. I had 400 behind. Who's this, Canadian?
And Vaughn, our Englishman in seat 9, is not the only Vaughn in the house. Apparently, we have Vince Vaughn in the house.
Definitely had 4.
Playing a tournament here at the Bicycle Casino.
Good try.
Vince Vaughn of Swingers.
Wait a minute, that was really quick. I was 500 behind. I mean, where's my 600?
I got to tell you, man, he played like the ultimate friend. Because there were a couple of times where he could have gotten laid in that movie, and he kind of turned down the girl to be with his buddy. I don't know if I have a friend. I don't know if I like any of my friends enough to turn down sex. I got to tell you. Anyway, Pete's got jacks. And he's going to make it 35 to go. Over to Vaughn there. I don't think he's going to play. No, he's not going to. Brian's not going to play, is he? No. And Chris has got an interesting hand, but you know what? Out of position, heads up. It's not a hand that I'm going to take up heads up. He's got 7-8 suited. He's going to throw it away. Don't mind that lay down at all. 7-8 suited is a hand that I'll more often, I would call a raiser if I'm on the button and there's another player or even 2 more players involved. There I have position on a guy. I don't want to really play that heads up out of position. Once again, if you missed any part of this show, you can watch it again tonight at 11 p.m. Pacific time. And then we replay it every 3 hours until tomorrow at 5 p.m. And if you missed any show this week, you can watch the entire week on Sunday. We started at noon. Monday show starts at noon, and then every 3 hours, obviously, until, till like midnight, I guess.
35.
Got a raise here from Aaron. Aaron's going to raise it up with 10-7 suited. And he'll probably win this. And, yeah, Chris called it here. And, wow, not a bad flop. If you're going to raise a 10-7 suited, here the flop is 9-6-3 with 2 spades.
Got shot in spade draw here, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of hand you can really push with. Even if you were behind here, he would have 12 outs. In this case, he actually has overcards as well. He has 18 outs to the winner.
Well, as you can see, he's the favorite here, even though Chris has a pair.
Yeah, almost a 2-1 favorite over Chris, even though Chris is ahead right now.
I mean, do you continue on here with deuces? I mean, here's, again, the issue. It's just, I mean, you play that hand and hit a set.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that... the problem with deuces there is, yeah, I mean, everybody always likes to put the raise draw on ace-king. And I guess if he has ace-king, yes, you are ahead. But how much heat can you take?
I'll get you a drink.
Button moves over to seat number 3. Pete,
Mark.
Houston Pete is is under the gun.
Have you ever been to Houston before?
Just the airport.
Have I asked you that before?
No, that was, you asked me San Antonio, and that was also the airport.
Chicago, just the airport.
No, Chicago I've been to. Chicago I've hung out in, actually. I had a bunch of buddies actually went to college. Right after college, we moved to Chicago, and I hung out there for a little while. Chicago I love. I think it's a great city, Chicago. San Fran, great city. Texas, though, as a whole, I'd love to go, but I've only been to the airport there.
It's funny, somebody really crushed that bicycle thread over there after, kind of posted up that his friend had died in a bicycle accident.
What'd you get, a burger?
That was it. No more posts. Sorry about that.
I mean, I know somebody who died in a bicycle accident too, but I just don't bring it up.
Right.
Man.
Derek raised there with ace.
Talk about a
queen of
party
diamonds.
killer, huh?
Right.
Man, everybody's having a good time, and then you got to bring up death. Jeez. Button moves over to seat number 4. And I believe Pete's gotten up from the table right now. Yeah, no, he's back. So he'll take the blind. And Derek's going to straddle this pot.
I am hungry. Maybe I should get some.
Oh, Jimmy Pancake's talking about flat tire. Have you ever had a flat tire?
I haven't.
Really?
No.
A flat tire? I thought it was fat tire.
I don't know. Is it
It's
a
fat tire, isn't it?
Microbrew?
Yeah, it's one of those small ones. You can get it at like Whole Foods and stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to think. Flat tire I never had, but fat tire I have had. And we got a race here out of
Seat 2 is
seat
going
2. Reggie's raising it up.
He's got pocket 8s, and look at Dr. Beebe's son, Chris. He's got ace-king offsuit on the button. $40 raise here, and I assume Chris might just smooth call. We'll see.
A lot of ways to play this hand. I mean, I still always get confused with this hand. I mean, some people say raise this, some people say call this.
He's got a mini raise here. He's got a mini raise.
A lot of different ways to play this hand, you know.
He makes it 80.
Now, by raising this here, you might just get Reggie to call. You isolate the field. Obviously, Aaron should fold this away probably. He does not have enough money to call an $80 raise. And if Aaron lays this down, you get it heads up. And even if Reggie doesn't hit a set, even if an ace-king doesn't come out there, let's say it comes out all rags, it really becomes hard for Reggie to continue.
You know, this hand brings me up the story I told you yesterday or Wednesday about Bert, and I'll tell it in a second here with the ace-king when I made the re-raise on the button. Here we go to the flop.
Well,
Ace-king 3. Well, Chris has got top 2, and Reggie probably can easily get away from this.
and this is the only disadvantage with ace-king. Are you going to make any money on this hand? Not really. Well, you shouldn't, at least. I'll put it that way. This pretty much should
Well, how about
go-
if Reggie moves in all in front of you, though?
Well, I mean, that guy, he's not just giving him money, though. I mean,
Yeah.
in all honesty, though, you shouldn't make any money on this
Right.
with ace-king, right? I
Right.
mean, this should go check, fold,
It's
check,
a
bet,
pretty
fold.
obvious. It's a pretty obvious hand. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Reggie can...
And now Chris fills up here on the river. A pocket aces, pocket kings would be a jackpot.
I mean, the one thing I will say about Reggie here, in defense of, obviously, he doesn't know what his opponent has. Oftentimes, a re-raise is a big pocket pair. And if seat number 4, if Chris was re-raising it with, say,
Queens or
queens or jacks,
Right.
that's the ultimate scare cards, ace and a king out there. He's trying to represent that.
Call for a king on the river. I mean, I was the guy that
The problem is there's really no value to the bet. I mean, I guess you can get jacks and queens off, but that's pretty much
I had a hand
it.
on
Sorry.
Wednesday, Dave, where George Georgian, Greek poker god, brought it in from the cutoff. And he brings a lot of hands in, I think, with shit in the late position. And that ace king suited on the button. This was in 5-10. He raised it to 55. I made it 300. I only had 2,400 in front of me. Bert had me covered. Bert, I can never figure his game out. He calls me in the blind. Okay? The flop comes out 10, 9, deuce. He checks to me. I bet 500, and he calls. The turn's a blank, he checks, I check behind him. The river's a blank, he checks, I check behind him, and he turns over pocket fours for the win.
I mean, you wonder if you'd bet the turn and he could take any more heat, but obviously you don't know what he has.
Yeah, I mean, I
Really
figured he had a
put you
set or something, you know?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Or a good pocket pair.
Yeah.
Because why should they?
I'm really content to take a card there if he's...
What was the flop again?
10, 9, deuce. If he's got jacks or queens, I'm good taking a card there on the turn.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, you might even put the guy, I mean, maybe 10, 9 deuce. You know, maybe he's got like a hand as good as even, I'm trying to think, maybe even eights or something. But fours, I mean, what the heck can fours beat except ace king?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Some people will always assume they just go, if you're raising, you have to have ace king. You have to.
Even re-raising.
You have to have ace king. You can't have anything else.
I believe Aaron is the raiser here with ace king.
Yeah,
is
he
that
is.
right? Yeah.
Aaron raised this up. He raised it up to $40, and he got called in a couple of spots.
Now, queen 9-9 here, and Vaughn has bet his good hands, and he's going to bet a semi-bluff here with jack 10.
The only problem is, though, is his semi-bluffs. We saw at the flush, and we see here with the open-ended straight draw. He's betting his semi-bluffs like 1/4 of the pot.
Right.
But he's betting his made hands, like when he has aces, he bets like $200. And if anybody's paying attention, they can kind of quickly figure that out. Now, Derek was quick enough earlier on to pick up on the fact that he didn't have a big hand. When he had ace 7 of hearts, he only had a draw. And he moved in with just a pair of sixes.
Got about an hour left in the show here, Dave. My flight leaves in 9 hours.
You're pretty excited about going, huh?
I've never been to Chicago. I hear it's going to be cold and rainy there, though.
It's cold?
No, I mean this weekend. I looked on the
Really?
website.
Wow.
It's not going to get above 55, and it's going to be rainy.
That's not that cold.
Well, yeah, for us
I mean, we've kind of entered the no-rain, hot weather season now, so not too bad. Ace-queen offsuit for Derek in the small blind. Nobody else has got much of anything. Interesting hand, I suppose. No, not really.
Let me ask you a question
suited
here.
for seat 3.
You know, I never used to play these hands from up front, but I found myself the last couple weeks playing them, limping in with them, and it's only really been a lot of trouble. In the first 3 spots, will you limp in with, say, 6, 7 of hearts, 7, 9 of hearts, 5, 4 of clubs?
I
Under the gun?
shouldn't.
But sometimes you do.
I shouldn't, but sometimes I do.
Yeah, yeah. And it's going to get raised here by Derek to 35. Oh, excuse me, it was a button raise by Pete with ace 7. And Derek is going to call with ace queen. That's going to bring Vaughn in. I just find that with the suited connector, and I'll get to this after this hand, but suited connectors are much, much more difficult to play out of position than a pocket pair is out of position.
I always point out, I go, you should be looking for excuses not to play hands out of position. And you should be looking for excuses to play hands in position.
5-way action here. 9-5-8 with a couple of spades.
Vaughn with the best hand here. He's got a gut shot with top pair.
Now remember, Pete was the pre-flop raiser, and Vaughn is going to lead right out here again. I don't mind the bet at all. Now he's going to bet 40, though. 40 into a pot that's about 120. And now Mark is going to call here with Jack 8.
I don't think Mark can call this. I think Mark
it's
needs
either
to raise.
the raise or a fold, right?
I think so. The board is just too draw heavy. You have no idea where you're at. And what card can really come off on the turn where you know you're safe?
Yeah.
Short of like an 8.
Yeah, Mark really needs to pop that one up. And with Vaughn betting into a pre-flop raiser, I think it's probably
And
more
here
like
you go.
a fold.
I mean, you got a 10 now, and you have no idea where you're at. I mean, now he's open-ended, but how does he know Vaughn doesn't have a straight already? Or 2 pair?
I got to tell you, if I'm Vaughn here, that 10 changes nothing. I still think I probably have the best hand, unless Mark's in there with ace 9. You know?
Right.
And he's going to bet here again.
And maybe Mark raised this here. You know, maybe Mark can try to represent like you know.
Well, Vaughn's bet weak. He's bet 50, and Mark is going to raise it up 175 total.
I like the bet here. I mean,
the raise.
Yeah, I mean, I like the raise exactly. Why not try to represent spades with maybe the 10 or something like that? Or you can also represent, say, your slow played 6-7 even. Who knows?
The pot is now 425, and it's 125 here for Vaughn to call.
I mean, Mark can also be representing 10-9. 10-9 is a hand where he might just call with. He has top pair, might not raise it.
And Vaughn is going to call.
But you wonder, is Vaughn calling thinking he's behind, but he's got an open-ended straight draw?
Yeah, the bottom end of it. I mean, wow. I mean, if a jack comes, boy, how do you even know if you're good? Pot is over $500, $550 to the river, and the river is an 8 in Mark Spike's trips. And Mark can really safely now bet for value, I think.
Now, Mark had a lot of outs, obviously.
Right.
He's open-ended there.
And Vaughn is going to throw a little, looks like maybe a little blockish bet. It's a $550 pot. And he's going to bet 100 here.
And that really is a blockish bet, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, can Mark raise here? Would you get? Can you raise? Would you not raise because you can't get called by anything? Is there value to raising because you wouldn't get called? Could you min raise here to 200 and get called by Vaughn's hand with a 9? I mean, it's really interesting.
But if you min raise and he moves in, what do you do then?
Right. Well, Mark says he really should value bet it, and that is kind of definition of how a blocker bet worked there.
And it works a lot. I mean, blocker bets can really paralyze people because you look at it and go, "Oh man, what can I do now?" And Mark takes it down.
And I think there are times, and it's funny, back in the day when we first started talking about blocker bets, actually, Greg, after Raymer actually stopped by the booth over a year ago and he started talking about stop bets, I think that they are, in certain boards and certain texture of boards, they are sometimes appropriate against, and can work against a strong player. But I got to tell you, if anybody watched last night's show, when Russ tried to pull a blocker bet on Nate when it didn't really make a whole lot of sense, and Nate raised him with nothing, just kind of snuffing out, you know what, I think this guy has a jack and he's throwing a stop bet in here and I'm just going to raise him.
And sure enough,
it worked.
And sure enough, Russ threw the hand away.
But I'm saying,
Nate
like, on
down.
that type of board there, texture, you can see that 3/8 can't raise back.
Really difficult.
Yeah.
Well, it's really difficult to raise back with trip 8s and get called by a hand.
Right.
So you start thinking, is there any value to raising it here? Well, I guess there is value in the sense that there's always value in not showing your hand.
Right.
We get to pass our cards again, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get a sandwich? Thank you. Check.
Here, you want just to toss?
Here you go.
It's like it's limped around here, 6 ways. And look at this bottom full here for Chris Beebe. Chris Burns.
What do you guys have?
Check into my
Now,
Dr. Chris Beebe.
Right now, Dave, I put money in the flop, and I hope to build a pot up against somebody with a 3.
Well, you're hoping also somebody has a draw as well.
He's going to bet 15.
You're hoping nobody calls you here.
3-3 deuce on the flop here.
And unfortunately for him, I don't think anybody's going to call this.
And again, I hope.
Does Mark take one off, though?
No, he's got to. No, it doesn't. I hope,
How do you know? Wait, Mark's still. No, he's not. Yeah, Mark's going to call this.
Oh, yeah, he is going to call.
He's got a wheel draw, he's got overcards, he's got backdoor diamonds, and he's drawing almost dead.
And the turn is a 3, and now Chris's hand really gets counterfeited here.
Yeah, Mark's hand now. Mark actually picks up a lot of outs.
Right.
Mark can catch a 5 or an ace or a 3 to win this hand.
Chris bets out again here.
And obviously the 4 of diamonds for a straight flush. Thank you, Ronnie.
Now, the funny thing here is, if you're Mark, you might actually raise here if you don't think Chris would bet on the quads here on the turn. Because if he was betting out on a deuce.
And there it is.
And the river is an ace here, and Mark has got the winner.
And Chris's hand
And Mark checked it again.
And I got to tell you,
check that.
Chris's full house has been counterfeited.
It has. He bets. Chris bets a little bit, and Mark calls. Full house, but Mark has a higher full house.
Yeah.
I don't think Chris realizes it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark's going to win this hand with 3s full of aces. Chris has got 3s full of deuces. And I guess, is that a counter or what?
Yeah.
That is definitely
what I was going to say there, if you're confident, now if I was playing against Dr. Beebe, number one, I'd probably be confident that he's not going to bet a flop with a 3. But if he made quads on the turn, I'm pretty confident that he's not going to bet the turn. I've seen his play so much that if you have ace 5 there, and now the turn is a 3, and you put Chris maybe on an over pair or a deuce, you might actually be able to kind of check raise it up there, almost as a little bit of a semi-bluff.
Yeah, the only problem with that is, oftentimes you wonder is the player aware that he doesn't have a full house?
I guess.
A real full house,
Right,
that is.
right. Well, you always
That's the only thing
to-
you're scared about
Yeah.
sometimes when you're playing against a player.
Yeah.
You wonder if they realize how bad their hand is now.
I don't know, it sounded arrogant.
I mean, I was really surprised. I mean, Chris even bet the river. Right?
Yeah.
You bet you get called, you bet you get called. I got to tell you, if I have a deuce there, I'm probably not betting the river.
No.
Oh, really?
Because what am I going to get called by? What am I getting called by? King high?
Juries?
I mean, all I can beat there is king high, right?
The wine cutter really nice.
Only every 30, 40
Nice
years.
email here by KMA. I'll get to it in a second. Queen 5-4 here. It was limped around. No one really has a piece of this.
Don't even like other.
6-7 is open-ended here in seat 1.
Yeah, JR's picked up a pair now. He's got a pair of 9s.
Marcus got 6-7.
And Mark did not bet.
No.
Oh, Mark's not in there.
I mean, excuse me, not
Brian.
Mark, Brian.
Now, with Brian's image, he probably could have bet the 6-7 there on the flop and taken it down. He could probably raise now and take it down. But he's not going to get involved. And now I really like Brian's game, I got to tell you, but if Brian never kind of semi-bluffs with a draw, eventually if the players playing against him will pick up on that when he starts playing in stiffer competition, and they won't give him any action.
What am I going to raise you?
Button moves over to seat 9. Kevin's saying that he lives in Chico, California, home of the Sierra Nevada Brewery. They are mostly wide known for brews such as pale ale, but they offer a wide variety of lagers, ales, stouts, and specialty beers. They have Bigfoot Ale, their winter specialty, a 9.6% alcohol percentage. If you ever make it up that far up north, you should stop in a tap room and have a sampler. They have tap rooms up in Northern California?
I was actually going to say, do they have, like, I know when you go on, Melissa and I really want to go up to Napa and kind of do the whole wine tasting thing.
Kind of like straight out of Sideways, right?
Yeah, kind of. Anyway, kind of.
Up an Asian chick up there?
Yeah, exactly.
Aaron is raised here with Ace Queen.
But do they have that for beers? I mean, can you go to, like, a brewery and get samplers and stuff? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. Funny thing was, I was actually reading up online last night about olive oils. They have that for olive oils up there, too. Really? Taster places, yeah.
Olive oils?
Yeah. And Aaron's raised it with Ace Queen.
I'm your Huckleberry.
And
Well, let's get heads up here. About a $90 pot, right?
Derek is called with 10s.
Well, I got to say, if I'm Derek here, I'm putting some money in the pot right away. I'm not going to give a free card off.
Well, he checks it, and look at this. Aaron checks right behind him. Turn is an 8.
And we've seen Derek.
And he checked it again. Derek checked it again.
Yeah, I don't understand Derek's play, I got to tell you.
And the river now is a 6. It checks again. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the email said that he was a pro in Houston. I guess that's how they play it in Houston. I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me.
That's the least amount of money I could have lost.
Ronnie's already booked his flight.
It was funny. Like, I like to taste different olive oils. What I do is actually really good, high-quality
Do you
olive oil.
put them on something, or do you just drink them out of the bottle?
Well, what I was going to say is you're not supposed to use really good, high olive oil, good quality, high for cooking. It's supposed to be put on bread. I guess actually the technical fancy way to taste olive oil is actually to just kind of taste it out of a cup. There's kind of an etiquette for it. I actually put it on shredded wheat. I take shredded wheat and I dip it in the olive oil and I eat it. You can do it with
Shredded
bread, too.
wheat?
Yeah, little pieces of shredded wheat.
Like the breakfast cereal?
Yeah.
Very good movie.
Really?
I've heard about it.
That's got to be one of the weirdest things I've ever
I
heard in
think
my
that's
life.
weird, really? I mean, it's just basically it's just bread.
I've never heard anybody dipping
Okay.
shredded wheat. I mean, hey, I guess it works. I mean,
I mean, that's basically all shredded wheat is. It's
No, it makes sense. I guess
I know.
when you think about it, I just never heard anybody say that.
Dude, terms of
I got to tell you never know what you're going to hear on Live the Bike.
All right, I'm raising again. I'm going to make it.
I actually put shredded wheat in my chili, too.
Shredded
Kind
wheat
of
in
gives
your
it a crunchy texture. in my
You like
chili.
shredded wheat? You really like?
I put it in things. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Okay.
the best breakfast cereal alone, but it definitely gives it's definitely a texture enhancer for foods.
Yeah, Aaron raised with 4-6 of hearts. Nobody called and he takes it down.
It's almost like kind of like a tofu. You know, tofu doesn't really have flavor. Same thing with shredded wheat. It picks up the flavor of food. It just makes it crunchy.
I got you.
You know?
Kind of like halibut.
Yeah, halibut doesn't have much flavor.
Now, halibut's a perfect fish if you want to just like
Well, same thing with haddock. Any of those
lather,
white
yeah,
fishes.
lather it and other stuff.
The thing about halibut, though, is you don't really get
And you
like
put shredded wheat on your halibut?
no, you don't get really a deep fried halibut, like you say, deep because it makes
Oh, that was the best. When I was in Alaska,
But I never really see it offered.
it was unbelievable. I'm in Alaska
Yeah.
with my dad, and we're going fishing and everything. And they're fishing chips up there, and you can throw this at Vaughn over there, our Englishman. They don't have black cod or anything like that. They got halibut fishing chips.
Yeah.
And it's just outrageous. Yeah, so good. I got to tell you, if you've never been to Alaska, anybody listening, go. Go on like a 2-week fishing trip. Go hiking, go fishing. It is amazing.
You went there in the summer, so it's pretty much
I went there in the summer.
Didn't get dark,
It was
really.
fabulous. It was really great. Great trip.
Limped around here, and Marcus got ace king. He's in the small blind. See if he's going to raise.
I ended up bringing home. I brought home like 100 pounds of halibut.
Good.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Doesn't get dark up there, right, in the summertime?
Yeah, like an hour, but it was really more like dusk.
You're not going anywhere.
Mark makes it 60 to go here. You know who's from Alaska who plays on the show a lot is Boston.
Is it?
Yeah, he's from Alaska. He's from Anchorage.
Wow.
And it looks like Mark is going to take it down.
Yeah, I know what he's going to call this.
My father, actually, when he was in the Army in the early 60s, was stationed in Alaska.
Really?
Fort Greely, in between Anchorage and Fairbanks at Delta Junction. What a
Well,
place to
maybe
get
that's where
stationed in Alaska, huh?
Maybe that's where your Asian
Send you
fancy
up to
stuff comes
Alaska. What? You mean Inuit?
from. Yeah.
The button moves over here to seat 3. We've got less than an hour left in the show.
Especially with your great issues. Especially with your great.
That's got to be a T-shirt.
No, that's
huh?
Swahili, right?
Yeah, I dip my shredded wheat in olive oil. Next time I go to an Italian restaurant, they hand out some olive oil.
Is it any
Can you get
different-
some shredded wheat in the back for
Is
me?
it any different than toasted bread?
No, I guess not. I mean, I never thought
There's
of
this
that.
stuff called Manny olive oil I want to try. It's about 300 euros per bottle. That's how expensive it is. Best olive oil in the world, yeah.
It's olive oil. How different can you make olive oil?
I don't know. Apparently, apparently
Oil
it's
from
like,
an olive.
it's like wine. How different can you make wine?
Okay.
Got
Oh, I see.
a raise here by C-Day with King
Yeah,
Jack.
Aaron makes it 40 with King Jack. Reggie's going to call this with 7-8.
No, Aaron is not deep enough. And Reggie. Well, Reggie's all in. He's all in with 7-8 here.
Well, hey, I guess
Calls
that's
the raise.
Is Mark going to call? And Mark's going to call with ace-8 off suit.
Sometimes I wonder.
You wonder? I mean,
I wonder if Mark is just kind of donking it up for the show. I mean, obviously he asks us. And we tell him to watch the show, honest opinion
Well,
about
you know
his
what? If
play.
a guy raises $40, another guy moves all in. Ace-8 off suit is not a good hand. Now, obviously, he has the best hand here, but I mean, yeah, it's not a good
Well, how
hand.
about King Jack 3? Aaron is going to...
And Aaron's going to bet this, and Mark's got to throw it away.
Okay, I got it back. 75.
It's funny, every time I say I got to bet, it's because I don't have anything.
Well, remember, though, we've got a side pot here, and usually it's pretty rare that someone's going to bet into a
Yeah.
dry side pot.
There's 2 cards I couldn't touch. Actually, I had one.
Well, there's the
I
8.
had that one.
And no.
Yeah, Reggie, he could have caught... I mean, that would have been a horrible beat because we knew one of the 8s were dead. Could have caught 8 and then the case 8.
Yeah, the last 2 8s.
And that is what are those odds that hold them like 1 out of 600? That is the worst case
Probably
scenario.
even worse than that. I mean, there's 2 cards.
2 out of 45 and then 1 out of 44. Multiply those together, right?
You're looking at what? 1 out of more than 1,600.
Well, it's it's basically
No, I'm sorry, 2 out of 1,600. 1 out of about 800.
It's about 4% times 2%.
Right.
So 0.008%. Whatever that is. Good Lord, too much math.
Catching pots now, guys. So wait a minute.
Button moves over here to seat 4.
Oh, there you go. I got it. Got an email here from Michael. He says, "Come on, dude, man. They're saying that fat tire tastes like flat tire. Get it?" Man, he says, "Sarcastic boy not recognizing a joke." And I'm sorry, it went right over my head.
I've never had it. Is it not carbonated or something?
I don't know. I had it once. I don't really remember it, to be honest. I had it once. I thought it was okay. I think I thought it was okay.
That was limped around here 3 ways. 5-3 deuce here. Now, JR's got king 3. And he's going to come out and bet here. Now, Pete is going to call with ace deuce. And is Vaughn going to overcall with jack 10 here? Well, that's a little bit question mark there, isn't it, Dave? Jack 10 there, overcall on that board. Here we go to the turn. Turn is a 7. Now Pete picks up the nut flush draw. And Pete does not bet, and it gets checked around.
Wow.
And the river is a 10, and Vaughn backs into the best hand, and he's going to bet. Wow. If this one shows down, you got to scratch your head and be like, wow, what were you in there with on the flop? I mean, that's straight out of a little 8-16 limit. We see that happen in Dave sometimes.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
You look at that flop. I mean, you got no piece out of it at all. You know, just pure naked overcards. I mean, I have no problem calling with overcards if I've got some sort of backdoor draw working.
Right.
And usually 2 draws I want working. Something like maybe a gut shot straight draw, backdoor flush draw, something like that.
You know, of course, when I went to school in upstate New York at Syracuse, Saranac was big over there. And then my dad used to drink, I've said this on the show before too, this beer called Stegmeyer.
Right.
It was like a microbrew out of Pennsylvania, but he used to get it. It was a good tasting beer, like better than the mass-produced American beers. 24-pack of 16-ounce bottles for $8.99. It was amazing.
Can't beat
I mean,
that.
that's cheaper than Beast. Used to get it at Cappy's out in Massachusetts in the Northeast.
I still was wondering if somebody actually remembers from upstate New York, Peels or Matt's. And we're talking $3.99 a case. And this is a straddle pot. Got one limp in there with ace deuce of clubs. JR on the button with an ace 8 suited. And he can actually, he's just going to limp in. I was going to say he could raise this up if he wanted to. It is a straddle pot. He could probably make it $50, $60 and take it down. And Aaron's going to check it, and we're going to see this 5 ways, $50 pot now.
Good, how you doing?
And it's a pretty good flop for JR. He's got ace 8 of hearts. He's got the nut flush draw. 7, 5, 3, 2 hearts. Nobody else has much of anything. I'm trying to look here. Derek's got backdoor spades with a gut shot. Pete actually has top pair, and he's going to bet it. He bets $40. And if I'm JR here, I'd probably raise it up. I've got overcards and the heart draw. I'm probably going to raise this right now, but no.
No, he just calls here, Dave. Well, the turn's a 9, and now he's picked up a straight draw as well.
Yeah, he can catch a 6, he can catch a heart, he can catch an 8, or he can catch an ace.
Kind of one of the interesting stories of the night here. Again, you can see that Pete is ahead, but with one card to come, really not that much ahead.
No, he's not at all. And if JR would have raised this, he might take it down, but he's just going to call again.
Call again. So he could catch an ace, an 8, a 6, or a heart, and the river's a blank.
Yeah, he does not get there now.
Check, check.
Derek would have gotten there. Derek had ace 4 of spades, obviously didn't get that far.
Yeah.
And Pete's going to take it down. Nice
Yeah,
betting by
realizes
Pete.
that he really could have raised at any point there.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, that's kind of a step that a lot of players start making at some point. There's one of those things where you start playing poker and you go, okay, I bet my made hands, and I call with my draws. And I fold hands where I have no draw and no pair, I'll throw them away. Okay. And then at some point in your development as a poker player, you start realizing, well, wait a second. I can raise or bet my draws also. Because if I get called, I still have outs. And hey, there's always a chance I won't get called. And obviously that's one of those cases where if he had raised the flop there, or raised the turn, there's probably a good chance he takes it down.
Interesting question here from Tyler T, and I'll get to it here in a second. Now, Chris Burns here has got pocket jacks in seat 4.
Come on
Again,
in,
Brian, he hasn't played a lot of hands. I mean, he got mixed up in the beginning of the show and made his money, and he's been patient, like you can be in a cash game.
I got to tell you, it's one thing I like about Brian's game is he is
urgency to accumulate chips, right?
And he really shows no urgency. He's
And look
really
at this.
disciplined.
BB Jr. limps in with jacks, one off the cutoff.
Yeah, it's not a play I like. Not when you get 1, 2, 3 limpers in. I got to tell you, I'm going to make that at least 35 to go. I'm going to see if I can pick up the money, and if I can't pick it up, I'm only going to get 1 or 2 callers.
Well, now Aaron is going to raise it out of the blind with 6s. A lot of times I'm going to tap the table there in the big blind with 6s. He chooses to raise.
I want to see a flop.
Yeah.
Don't I? Why do I want to pick up 5, 10? I had this argument with Shirley where Shirley would go, oh, I'd overbet there and take down the pot. And I go, why? I'm going to risk $50 to win 20? Why not just tap the table? If I catch a 6, I might double up.
40.
And Brian is going to call.
And now Chris is just going to call as well. I think Aaron has bought in for more, so I guess Brian feels that maybe he's got set equity here.
Well, the raise is only like $30 raise, right?
Yeah, here we go.
And the dead money in there already. I don't mind that call at all.
About $120 pot going to the flop.
Oh, and there's a set of 5s.
Set of 5s here for Brian. 9, 8, 5, rainbow.
And is Chris going to get himself in trouble? And what is Aaron going to do? Did Aaron just check it?
Aaron's got a gut shot and a pair here.
How do you not bet the 6s?
And now Brian is going to bet out with his set. And remember, Chris pulled this move with 10s earlier. Is he going to get in trouble now with jacks?
Well, the difference was with 10s, nobody had bet into him. Everybody checked to him.
No. Somebody bet he moved in. With 10s, I'm telling you, he moved in. That's what the question was. That's the question I asked you. He moved in over the top of Reggie with 10s on a ragged board like this. He raised 250.
We'll have to watch the replay.
I'm telling you, man.
I'll get up tomorrow morning and I'll watch the replay. Shows again at 11 p.m. and then 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 8 in the morning.
I'll watch it on the plane. $75 bet here by
I'll make sure I turn it on at 9:30 in the morning, tomorrow morning.
By Brian. Let's see what Chris is going to do. Is he going to push here?
Really puts himself in a tough spot here. The problem is, I mean, what I'm amazed, Bo, is how does Aaron raise out of the blind and then not
Well, Chris is just going to call here. I don't understand how Chris doesn't raise that there. I mean, if it's just me, if I play it that way, I'm probably going to go broke here because Aaron has checked. Brian limped and then called, and now he's bet into me. I mean, don't you think? Do you pop it there if you got jacks?
Well, I'm probably going to fold it or pop it.
Right,
I don't think I can just call here.
Yeah.
'Cause what am I going to do? It's not like there's a card that can come off that's going to save me.
Right.
I mean, I guess a jack could come off, but I'm not.
I mean, the
sure.
only thing that might save you is the fact that Brian is a good player. Would he limp call with 8, ace 9? Could you possibly be ahead with an overpair here? I mean, with that coordination on the board, does he have 2 pair already or a set with Brian the way he
How about a
plays?
straight? I mean, there are a lot of things you can't beat here. With jacks here, that you got to realize you're not calling 100 to hit your set on the turn. So
Aaron folds here. And
now what are you going to do?
Now, for Brian's sake, he needs to not see an action killer on the turn. Well, the
that
turn's
might
a
be
10, and now Chris is open-ended with the overpair.
Yeah, Chris, I don't think Chris is going to go anywhere here, and I imagine all the money's going to go in right now.
And Chris is going to bet 125 now.
And Chris has picked up a lot of outs here. He can catch a 7, a queen, or a jack. He actually has 10 outs to the win. You can see that suddenly he is only a 4-1 dog.
He's betting 125 into a pot that's about 300, so about 425. And here we go. Chris is saying, like you said, he's got 10 outs here. How much more? Open-ended. He could also catch a set card.
We know 42 cards out of the 52.
Yeah.
32 of which are good for Brian, 10 of which are good for Chris.
Here we go to the river. And the river is a 9, and that is not one of them. And Brian is going to win it there with 5s full of 9s.
Take it down, and Brian, once again, only plays one hand every 40 minutes or so, but he is consistently a big winner. And we saw on Tuesday, he won a lot of money in the $200 game, and here he's making a killing. He's up over $1,000.
You know, it's a tough one there with jacks. It's a great example. We've talked about jacks a lot, and that's going to get me into this email here. But the way that Chris played it, okay, he's just limped in. Well, actually, it wasn't okay because he was 1 off the cutoff. He was in late position. There was no raise. He chooses to limp. Now it's basically a limped pot. Now you're almost playing it as if a medium overpair in a limped pot, 8-9-5. You've got a really good player betting into you. The pre-flop raiser in the blind checked it. Now this guy has bet. I don't know if Brian's range of hands that he would limp call or raise with under the gun would include ace-9. Now you might be ahead of pocket 10s there, but that might be one of the few hands that you're ahead of.
I mean, he could easily have 2 pair. We saw him earlier.
8-9 set straight.
I mean, he did call a raise earlier on with Jack-9 suited.
But that was on the button, Dave. He limped under the gun and called the blind raise.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Now, would he lead out with pocket 7s there? Also, could he lead out with a pair and a straight draw? That's why I think I might pop it with jacks there. I don't think you can just call.
No, I think clearly you need to either raise all in or you're folding. Because it's not like the turn card is going to change anything.
And the funny thing is you might call it tight passive as Mark raises here with ace-queen, but if you put Brian on a range of hands in seat 1, and the best of it that you're up against there is pocket 10s or pocket 7s, say maybe 40 or 50% of the time he's got 10s or 7s. 7s being maybe, a pair and a straight draw. 10s would have been a pair and a straight draw. Or actually, 10s wouldn't have been a pair and a straight draw. 10s would have been good for you. And then the other half of the time you've got 2 pair or a set.
Yeah,
is it a fold or is it a call?
It's tough. I mean, he could also have 10-9 there.
Right.
There are some hands he can have. I mean, he doesn't have queens, kings, or aces the way he played the hands.
Okay.
The only thing I'm curious about is how does Aaron raise it out of the blind with 6s? That's fine. And the flop comes out 5, 8, 9, and you don't bet your 6s.
Have you been successful in getting them to drink? No.
And why don't we do a chip count here?
I've got a couple of.
And we'll get to it in a second.
That's cool. Yeah.
Buttons in seat number 8. Brian now with $1,300. Mark's got $1,300. I think Brian's got more than that, actually.
Oh, sweet sass and glassy. Hey, no. Nobody here believes me at the table, sir, and you got to buy me a drink.
Pocket.
Sit down, take my thing.
Pocket kings over
You
here.
know what I mean? How does Aaron not bet his 6s there with that kind of board? If you're raising out of the blind, which I know you're not doing with 6s, but you raise and the flop comes out that good, how do you not bet it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, pocket kings over here on the button, and it looks like Pete has raised it with 7s.
We got better than 8-7 one player for him.
And let's see what Aaron is going to do here. Is he going to re-raise?
60.
Yeah, he's going to make it 160 here, Dave.
230 plus
I really want to get to this email if I can get a chance.
Wait. He made it 160?
He did with kings. 160.
Now, if you're sitting at home and you're watching this is what we always talk about, where you need to make your raises the same amount. If anybody was watching me on Friday night, I do practice what I preach. I think every single one of my raises was $90, $90, $90. You're giving away too much information if you change your raises like that.
JR, I'm sure, is going to get away from it. I assume Pete is easily going to get away from this as well.
Well, it seems like an interesting and certainly an apropos question here.
All right, here we go. Tyler T., I got a question about mucking kings pre-flop. It seems like in the lower limit, no-limit cash games I play, I get away from kings pre-flop maybe a little too often. Am I making a bad laydown and losing money in the long run, even if I put the guy in aces, or am I destined to go broke with them when the other guy shows aces? Tyler T., I got to be honest with you, Tyler. I don't understand how in a game like this you can ever muck kings pre-flop, unless you are really deep. With what we have seen in terms of people playing jacks and queens like they're aces, and usually if you have kings, you're going to commit so much money that you have to be right usually, say, 7 out of 8 times to make that call in terms of pot odds. I don't see how you can muck kings in a game like this.
I mean, there are certain times.
Well, this is a 300 to 500 game. I was thinking it was 200, but
yeah, there are certain times if the game is bigger. Let's say you're deep.
Yeah.
Let's say he raises, you re-raise, and then he comes back over the top
in a deep game. Right.
And you know the player you're playing against, and you know he wouldn't do that with queens. Well, in that case, yeah, you can muck kings.
Now, this is a very interesting hand here. JR is ace-queen suited. He brings it in for a raise. The button calls. Reggie's got jacks. And look at this. Reggie is re-raised. Again, we see the overplay. Reggie re-raising JR's under-the-gun raise with jacks, and look what Mark has right to his left.
And Tyler, I mean, if you're watching this game here,
right,
you tell me if you think you're mucking kings too often in a lower limit, no limit cash game where people think jacks, queens, and ace-king are the nuts.
That's what I said, yeah.
Now, if you're playing in a bigger game
right,
and you start really getting to know the players you're against, yeah, you do have to fold kings pre-flop once in a while, but very rarely. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't happen.
We've only seen it once in a year here on the show.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah.
Now, we've probably seen it one other time where they should have folded it.
Right.
But it just doesn't happen that often.
So we got a raise by JR, a call on the button, a re-raise by Reggie, and Mark now has re-raised. And I think JR is actually pushed in here. I think he was kind of short.
Now, I'll throw this at you. Now, Mark it was a raise, a re-raise, and now a re-raise, a third bet.
And JR is pushed in.
Now, if you were really deep, and Reggie then came back up top.
I think Reggie should fold right here.
Yeah,
Reggie should get away from this.
Yeah.
It's an easy laydown for jacks. And we've seen sometimes where it's an easy laydown for even queens.
Yeah.
Kings, though, especially in this game, it's tough to lay down for kings in this game. Really is.
Here we go to the flop. JR's all in. Wow, look at that. Ace, 5, queen. JR's got top 2. Now, Reggie's going to check. Now, how do you play this on a dry side pot here, Dave, if you're Mark?
I got to say, I bet this just in case my opponent's got clubs. Or something like... I'm trying to think of a hand they might have. But you know what, though? I'm going to protect my hand anyway. I don't know what my opponents have. Maybe they both have pocket pairs. I also might think I'm behind the other guy. I might need to win some on the side.
Turns a 10. Reggie now picks up a straight draw to the king.
Yeah, they both picked up outs, but they both need each other to hit a set. They only have 2 outs each.
Well, Reggie checks again, and now Mark checks, and the river now is a club.
And if you're Mark here, would you ever bet the river knowing you might be behind the JR?
I think you bet the turn. I think you put the guy maybe on jacks and you bet the turn. You don't want to kick. Well, you've got the king.
Well, no, it's not a matter of it's not a matter of losing your hand. You might think that you've already lost the middle. Yeah. You need to make some back.
And he bets 130 on the river, but he's not going to be good because JR's got top 2 here in the main. Yeah. So again, I mean, we have just seen the overplay, specifically tonight of jacks, and we see it all the time. Normally it's in the $200 game, but in this game, man, people play jacks like they're just gold.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand, Dave. I mean, you might re-raise JR with jacks in the blind, maybe 15-20% of the time, just because you might think you might outplay him because he's a little bit passive. But I think that you and I would both probably smooth call that, almost, at least 80% of the time.
I already told you, against specifically JR,
yeah,
I would say 75% of the time I'm going to do a stop and go on him,
right,
or I'm going to call him, and then I'm going to bet right into it.
Right.
You have more money after you got
There you go. I mean, people even overplay ace-king and ace-queen in this game. I mean, you saw JR. JR just committed all his stack with just ace-queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So based on what you're saying, Tyler, if you depending on how big your low no limit game is, I think you probably are playing. You're
losing value
down kings.
I mean, it's an interesting email because we've only seen it once, and he's saying he's doing it often.
Yeah.
So maybe he plays a lot of hands online. I don't know.
That's what I said.
I mean, I'll tell you, last Friday, there was an interesting hand where Alan had kings versus my queens, right? If I had kings there, and Alan made that move on me, I do the same thing. I'm just calling for a set and I'm throwing it away. I'm not I know he's got aces there, because I know he doesn't make that move with queens.
Three-way action here. There was a raise by Brian, I believe, with ace-queen on the button. Jack, 8.
But I know Alan real well.
Again, I wonder... And again, I like Mark personally, but I know he wants to become a player. I just don't understand how you call Brian's raise on the button with ace-9 off in the big blind.
You got to realize, you got to be paying attention to who you're playing against. And Brian is, it's not like Brian has the most chips at the table because he's gotten lucky.
Right.
No, he has the most chips on the table because he's playing the best.
He's going to bet 50 here.
Can you hear what they say?
One person at the table, I don't get 10 of them.
Can you hear what they say on the broadcast? Do you hear them all the time? You have to live with them in your head all night?
Yes, he does. Yes, she does, JR. And Brian makes a continuation bet, and he's going to take it down.
What a great laydown. Jack 8. What a great laydown. You want the big stuff?
All right, catching case runners is 989 to 1. Thank you.
Okay. I said it was like 850
Yeah.
and I was pretty close.
Jack
They're paying
8.
you to wear
Perfect.
that shirt? Huh? They're paying you to wear that shirt? This is my company. Oh, okay.
So you're paying yourself to live.
What do you guys invest?
And I think your olive oil discussion has kind of prompted a food discussion, cooking discussion on 2+2 here. I got to tell you guys, best thing you can do is get lucky and marry a really, really good wife.
You're like 2 million.
Does the bike have ribs on the menu? That'd be hilarious to eat ribs and play cards. Well, not quite. I think that's good that they don't have ribs. Can you imagine baby
Oh,
back
that would be
ribs?
so nasty.
Oh, man.
New setups every like 4 minutes.
And look what Brian's got. He's got kings now. And he's just waiting. Like I said, he hadn't played a hand pretty much in the whole second hour of the show. And now he's got kings in the cutoff.
Now, let's say who pays attention. It's not like Brian is like playing it like, oh, I'm going to raise every time I get my button.
He raises.
I mean, I wouldn't give this guy action at all, would you?
Basically a commercial industrial real estate.
And look at that. It's Rick Nebbiolio in C4 coming into the game.
Is he eating ribs?
I think he's eating... No, he's eating his classic chicken kebab. And I know his name is Rick Nebbiolo, but...
And I got to
It's an old
imagine,
joke.
JR's not going to call this, is he? At a position with a hand like King Jack, I'd sooner call a 5-7 of spades. Yeah, and he's not going to call, and Vaughn's not going to call, and Brian's going to take it down.
Yeah, I got to give credit to Rick. Rick actually opened up, or kind of referenced. I don't know how it started. He didn't start the thread on 2+2, but he did either make mention of it. Rick had been, following 2+2 for many years before the poker boom. Hint, hint, wink, wink, seat 4. He's eating the chicken kebab over there, and he basically, kind of introduced us to 2+2 and such.
Right.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, Rick's a good guy.
40.
What a jerk.
He used to work here at the bike.
Yes, he did. Aaron is going to raise it up here with ace.
What did he
jack
actually
clubs.
do?
When I first came and started propping, you had been propping for what, like almost a year before I came in. There were all kinds of odd jobs here before they did the revamp and they kind of overhauled the house.
I thought he was running the mid-level props, like the green chip props.
I think he did at one time, but also like there were hosts here, and his job was almost like.
What did he have? Robert Turner's job?
No. He was almost like a liaison. Like he almost did some sort of, what was it, Evan? Almost like a customer relations. Like he would write up things to promote the bike on the internet, stuff like that, right? He was coordinator in charge of time cards and payroll. Oh, okay. Scheduling. All kinds of odd job type things. But he would also kind of be a propish type too, right?
Yeah, we talk about Robert Turner all the time also because we never knew what he did. He's actually running.
He's running the props over at Crystal Park.
No, he's more than running the props.
Oh, he's got Rick's job over.
He's running the whole poker section over at Crystal Park. I mean, that's what Robert told me he was doing.
No, he is. He's got Rick's job over there at Crystal Park.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was doing.
Yeah.
Supposedly they offered that job to Mo. And Mo said no thanks.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder if can Mo make more money playing poker there?
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Mo actually said, he goes, it would take me 4 or 5 months to bring all the players over there.
Yeah.
And he said I wouldn't be able to play nearly as much.
Scare the hell out.
Lived around here 6 ways. King, 9-5 rainbow.
Ooh, 2 pair for JR. Bottom 2.
Bottom 2, and he's in the small blind here. Now, sometimes we talk about you might check raise here, Dave, just to get money in the pot and drive out everything, whereas you just bet a small pot. He checks, but it gets checked around.
That's the problem, though. How do you know anybody's going to bet it? It's not a raised pot.
And now he's going to bet here out on the 8.
Yeah, I got to tell you, in a raised pot, sometimes I will check raise there. But in a non-raised pot, I mean, why do I think anybody's got a king, and why do I think anybody's going to bet it?
Now, Pete, he had checked the king, and now he smooth calls on the turn card here.
I mean, once I let somebody with 6-7 get there. And now look, the 6 on the turn, wow.
Ooh.
One-liner. Anybody with a 7 would have a straight.
Aaron was in there with a flush draw. And Aaron's going to bluff at it. He's missed clubs. What a great bet here. He's going to bet 100. Is this going to work?
Well, the pot is about 150. Pot's now 250, 100 to call.
Now remember though, you got to look. If you're JR, you got to really play the hand back in your head. Would he call with a lone 7? Would he call with something like 5-7 on the turn? 7 is a gut shot here. So would he call with a 7, or might he bet with busted clubs? From what I saw of Aaron, I wouldn't necessarily think he would be capable of betting a busted club draw here with a scary river, but he has.
Yeah, it is a strange bet in the sense that, but you could actually think maybe he had something like Ace-7 of clubs or Queen-7 of clubs, something like that.
7 of clubs flush draw here.
Exactly, right.
And JR's going to lay it down.
Well, there's also a player behind him, still Dak.
Yep.
I mean,
well, there's a player behind him, still Dak, but I don't think you're worried about him calling with a 7 there. I think it's nice play there by Aaron. Now, Pajato correctly points out we do have chicken wings here, which
and kind of like buffalo wings.
Yeah, but they're not heavily sauced. I mean, you do get stuff on your fingers, but it's not quite as bad as like a rib.
I got to tell you, I don't understand how people eat that kind of food at the table. If you're seeing me eating at the table, I am always eating something that I can eat with a fork,
right,
or a toothpick. There's no way I'm touching those chips and those cards and then putting those hands in my mouth. I'm sorry.
Post here by Baron Vanguard regarding kings in that email. He said, the last 2 times people folded kings against me face up at Foxwoods, saying they were laying down knowing I had aces. I had ace, king suited, and queens. So there you go.
There you go. I mean, like I said, I mean, there are times to lay down kings pre-flop, but they are few and far between. If you lose with kings to aces, you know what? Sometimes you just got to kind of tap the table and go, you know what? Not my day.
Okay. 4 of you.
4-way action.
Set of 6s for Derek.
Derek has been quiet. Now, it doesn't look like anybody has an ace. I'd love to lead right into this board here.
Yeah, but Reggie's led into the board.
He's got an open-ended straight draw here. He's bet 60 with backdoor hearts here. And is Derek going to slow play here out of position? Boy, if this guy's a pro, I don't...
Yeah, Reggie's got no money. What are you slow playing for? Reggie's got like $60.
Turn is an 8. Reggie picks up a pair now. And now you...
Take the card, Reggie. Take the card, Reggie.
I think all the money's going in now. No, he's just got a pair. Who
Take
knows?
the card. Why wouldn't you take the card there? The guy called you. Take the card.
Well, he moves in.
There's no fold equity. You don't have enough money.
I don't think Richie knows that Reggie doesn't have any money left. Because look at the stack that he put in there.
Well, that's obviously, you've got to be aware of that. When
Right.
you're playing poker, you've got to know how much money you have. You have to know how much money your opponent has. Obviously, if Derek knew how much money Reggie had, he probably would have put him on the flop, right?
And again, I mean, obviously it looks like Derek didn't know that Reggie only had that much left. Here we go to the river. The river's a deuce. But it just goes to show you about how it makes it so much easier to lay down a hand that you let on the flop if somebody check raises you on the turn. Because so many people tend to check raise with their huge hands on the turn. And if you play it differently, then it's going to be much more different. Dave, I got to tell you, even at the big game and the 5-10 game, if somebody plays it differently, I find it will make me much harder to lay down top pair, top kicker, or an overpair when Showman shows a lot of flop strength.
I got to tell you, every single time that I see, if somebody shows strength on the flop, I'm like, okay, you don't have it.
Yeah.
There's no way you've got it. Especially this guy, Derek. If he ever actually bets the flop, you know he's got nothing, right? There's no way he's got a set.
Button moves over here to... Hi, Tracy. What the hell, man? I thought you were going to leave the booth.
Was I supposed to leave the booth and Ronnie and Isaac and Evelyn too?
Yeah, yes.
All of us?
Yes.
It's just sitting on top.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, she came in. All I saw her do was I saw her come in,
Yeah.
go over to Ronnie, whisper something in Ronnie's ear, and leave.
Oh, man. Really? And it looks like, really, there's going to be no flop here. JR shows an ace. We've got less than 20 minutes left in the show here, Dave.
Well, for your, I mean, I hope Tracy can cook.
Yeah, that's not your job.
Jeez.
I'm happy with my microwave food.
I guess so. I'll tell her about the shredded wheat fetish.
Shredded wheat and olive oil.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, wow. Shredded wheat, olive oil, and Tracy. You'll be okay, huh?
Tell people
Ace King for Tracy. For JR. And imagine he's going to raise here. Tosses in $30.
Okay, the pop's been raised at 30. That's twice you've done that.
What a guess.
That's twice unbelievable.
what raise?
And nobody's going to play with him. Got about 10 minutes left of tonight's show.
Post here by Boondoggle says sometimes you have to fold Pocket Kings pre-flop when you multi-table full ring games online. You'll get killed if you don't, so your advice is for live games only, not online. You should make that distinction. Well, I was referring to live games. I assume that was what the email was too as well.
I'm gonna make a blanket statement here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, any advice that we're giving here, it's for a live game, or it's for one table, I guess, online. But I don't really have much online experience, so I got to tell you, anything I say is really all for live. If it's for the internet, we'll specify for the internet.
Stealthily moved right in. I didn't even see you.
30.
Obviously, yeah, if you're playing on the internet and you're playing 6 or 8 tables, and you're seeing that many more hands per hour, obviously you're going to see the dreaded kings versus aces more often than, say, somebody who's playing one table live only seeing 25 hands an hour.
Would you say the water's fine and the river's choppy?
That's what we're doing. Where have you been?
Now, we had a raise here by, was it Vaughn onto the blind here?
4 players.
Oh, excuse me, it's by JR here with King Queen suited. Now, Rick limped in with 8s, limp call, and JR's hit top pair here.
Yeah, pretty basic here. I mean, imagine JR's going to put some money in the pot. And when JR puts money in the pot,
2 small pocket pairs that missed. JR should take this one
and
down.
Vaughn obviously has got nothing here. No draw, no pair. Throws it away.
Email here from Jonathan DeGraw. He says, I actually just returned from California on a wine and food seminar in conjunction with school. They take olive oils as serious as wine and claim that it's all about how the olives are grown, the climate, how they're handled, and the different varieties used for blending. All of the olive oil is tasted on its own, sipped from a non-metallic container. And there you go. Again, that is kind of the proper way to do it. You actually sip it by itself. I mean, you can dip right into it.
I want to read the rest of it here. Different blends can run you a lot of money, especially those that have won awards and come from very old wines. I realize I sound like a foo-foo Brokeback character right now, but thought you guys would like to know. Keep up the great work. John, he says, P.S. Great English beer. How about Fuller's London Pride?
Is that a lager?
30.
I don't know.
I don't think it's a lager, no.
Because he folded, you figure you might be able to
Of course,
I don't know.
Beamish is a stout. I think that's English, too.
That's cool. Thanks a lot for the email, Jonathan. Hey, man, I don't think there's anything foo-foo Brokeback about food, I got to tell you.
No.
I'm all about food.
Pete is going to raise it up here with Queen 10. Aaron is going to call with 5 deuce of hearts.
Now, there might be something foo-foo Brokeback about shredded wheat or about floppy disks, but hey.
Oh, table's calling. Want your cards back? Yeah.
So Pete, the pre-flop raiser with Queen 10. Now Brian's going to come in. He's got pocket 3s. Okay. Pete's pretty deep. He can make this call. 5-way action here. $200 pot. Jack 4-9.
Well, Pete's open-ended. It is a rainbow board. I mean, that's the kind of flop you're looking for if you've got Queen 10, isn't it?
He's on the cutoff. I would assume he's going to bet here. No, he checked it.
You're not looking for a queen here. You're really looking for something like that. And I'm surprised they didn't bet it. Why not take a shot at it?
Well, I wonder if Vaughn would have went anywhere.
Yeah, but now you get to name your price.
Yeah, so now Vaughn bets 60.
Now, maybe you call this with Queen 10 and then bet turn. Regardless, kind of name your price again.
He's going to call.
A lot of cards can help Pete here. a queen, well, not a 3 of hearts.
Well, now Vaughn picks up a heart draw as well.
Yeah. And you know what? Pete's going to check it to him again, and Vaughn's going to bet again, and I think Pete's going to throw it away.
Please rabbit hunt that.
You know, it's funny.
And the river's a 10,
Yeah.
and Pete would have won the hand. And if Pete was
No,
aggressive...
Vaughn would have made 2 pair there.
Oh, did he? Okay, right, 10-9.
Beforehand, I didn't think.
Well, what I was going to say is, you know, what do you put Pete on when he raises the flop? He checks it. You bet the button, and he check calls with that board. It's
Yeah, I
like
mean,
what-
if you're the pre-flop raiser, I got to tell you, and you flop and open in the straight draw, why not bet it? You've got to realize there's some fold equity there. I'm not sure, obviously, if Vaughn is going to fold or not.
You know, the beer that they drink in England, like one of the most popular lagers in England that they drink, is kind of like their Budweiser is Carlsberg, but that's Danish. You can get Carlsberg here, but it's really popular.
Yeah, I mean,
And they drink a lot of Heineken over there too.
Oh my god.
And actually, you know what a foo-foo hipster, like clubbish beer is over there? At least it was when I was in London in 2000. Budweiser. Regular Budweiser in bottles.
I don't doubt that.
Very
at all, yeah.
expensive.
It's actually Budweiser is actually pretty popular beer outside of the country as well. Yeah.
Budweiser is really like a hipster, like clubbish beer. You know, like a lot of women drink it, and you know, hipster metrosexual guys.
You're not cool if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Call that, right? What's that?
Regular Budweiser.
Derek in there with 9-3 offsuit. He called a raise with 9-3 offsuit.
4 players.
4-way action. Queen 9-3.
Yeah, the
look at
raiser
Derek.
was actually, I want to say the raiser was actually Vaughn.
Look at Derek here. He's got bottom 2, and he checked it, Dave. Queen 9-3.
Well, he's checked it. Now the bettor is going to bet, and you wonder, Sammy, once again here, if Derek bets right into Vaughn, Vaughn might raise him.
Well, you know, I was a little bit speculative of how Vaughn was going to play tonight. He hasn't got it mixed up in big hands. I mean, if Derek shows strength on the turn or on the flop, Vaughn should easily get it away from Queen Jack. And once again, Derek is going to go for the check raise on the turn. And the turn's a jack, Dave.
Well, you know what?
Top 2 here for Vaughn.
You can't put Texas up against England, man.
And Vaughn bets again. And let's see what Derek is going to do.
I gotta tell you, that's a scary card, though, isn't it? Couldn't this guy have a set of jacks or a set of queens? He did raise pre-flop.
Wow.
I mean, it's just one more hand.
I mean, I think maybe Derek's got 8-10. Well, I guess it would have been a gut shot if Derek has a straight here.
Actually, I'd more put him on Jack 10 here. Jack 10 now he's got a pair with his.
How about
opening
hopefully
straight
not a
draw.
set of 9s or 3s because he played the set just the same the other times like that. Look at this, and he check raises all in.
And I don't know if Vaughn's gonna throw this away. And Vaughn is pretty deep. This is now a huge pot, folks. This is an enormous pot.
Wow.
I want to get a word of how much Vaughn has. Now Derek has him covered, and the pot is already about $350, and there's another $675.
700, 675. I think it's more than 300. It's a $400 pot, and it's basically going to be another 600. This is a $1,000 pot, 600 for Vaughn to call. I mean,
So we're looking at about a $1,600 pot total here. Wow.
well, it's a $1,000 here, 600 plus 400 in the main.
Right. And 675.
Oh, excuse me, $1,100 pot, 675 for Vaughn to call.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's, in the end of it all, if he calls, it's going to be almost an $1,800 pot.
And again, though, I mean, my problem here is that I think that this guy has a set.
Do you?
Yeah.
You put him on a set here.
I mean, I can beat Queen 9.
You know, it's a lot easier for me to get away from it on the flop. Now I got 2 pair. Man.
Yeah. I can beat Queen 9 here.
The only thing
I
with
don't put
Derek
him on
is
3-9.
the only thing with Derek is I got to tell you, Derek made this move earlier with a pair of 6s. I think he called.
And he called.
He called. Yeah, he did.
He called, and Derek is way behind here. And the
Yeah.
river is a jack, and Vaughn fills through.
Now, I was going to say the only reason I call if I'm Vaughn, remember earlier when Vaughn made that bet with the ace-7 of hearts, and Derek made the move with just a pair of 6s, third pair, and then he made runner quads. Well, that's fresh in my mind here, and I got to tell you, if I'm playing this hand specifically, I don't put him on 9-3, obviously, but I might put him on Jack 10, where he's open-ended and he just picked up a pair.
I don't know, though. I mean, but I think there's a really good chance he's got set there, too. But then you got to look at the odds and say, you know,
I got to
how
start putting him in a
often-
range of hands, though.
You're getting about 2-1. So it's like, you know, how often is there a chance that more than 1 out of 3 times I'm ahead here, right? With Queen Jack.
I mean, you might even put the guy. I mean, you got to start putting him in a range of hands. What might he have? Obviously, a set of 3s, a set of 9s.
Queen 9,
Queen 9. He also might have Jack 9.
Nice hand.
He also might have Jack 10, which is why he called, and now he makes it a little more aggressive. I mean, Jack 10, you pick up a pair there, you might think, you know what, I'm going to make a move on this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't call me and say King Queen. King Queen's a tough call there.
Or aces. How about aces or kings there? I don't think you can call there, can you?
Right.
Aces or kings.
But it's not a bad play if the guy's got Jack 10.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it? And just like that, look at that.
Brian feeling you have a lot of chips in front of you?
$1,800 pot. What is that, about what about 1,000 pounds?
How much was the pot? 1,800?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 1,000 to 1,100 pounds.
Okay.
Back when I was in England, it was about 165. Now it's more like 180, 185, I think. And those damn Englishmen, man, they're so stubborn. You know, they're not joining the European Union because they don't want to. They don't want the euros. They want their pound sterling.
I don't blame them. They want the same money as the French?
I know, right? Aaron is racing here with ace king. And Derek is going to call with 7-4 diamonds. Obviously, he is behind some amount of money. Queen 8-9. Derek checks. Aaron checks right behind him.
Aaron checked it?
Yeah, turn is a 6.
Well, Derek's open-ended here, and Derek's going to bet it. And Aaron's going to throw this away.
Ace king good? Yeah, you got to show me what you had. I want to see what
Pretty passive post flop here, Dave.
Yeah, real passive.
That's it. You know what? You're never going to see a flop without going all in. I don't care how much money.
Got about, what, maybe 2 or 3 hands left
I
tonight?
don't care if it costs me $5 grand in my pocket. You aren't seeing a flop. That's all that goes in.
Don't forget to catch us. Actually, don't forget to catch me tomorrow night. It's live at the bike tomorrow night. 10-20 blinds, $1,000 minimum buy-in. Oftentimes, this game plays bigger than our Wednesday game. We'll probably have close to 40 or 50 grand on the table tomorrow night. And a lot of fun. I'm going to have a whole bunch of guest commentators in. We're going to have Jonas in the booth, who's Riverboat King on 2+2. We're going to have Jason Cacciatani in the booth. We're going to have Corporation Mike in the booth. We're going to have Hollywood Russ in the booth. We're going to have Alan in the booth. Maybe even the Greek poker god, George Giorgio. Who knows? We'll see. Whole bunch of guest commentators. Should be a lot of fun to get somebody else's opinion. And I'm just getting word that Ronnie won't be here. So maybe I'll have one of our guest commentators put the cards in. That'll be fun. That'll be fun for him. Reggie's with top pair here. He's got a queen kicker. And you imagine, and he checks it. Wow. He checks it to the button. Mark. And Mark's going to put some money in there with pocket fours. And is Reggie going to raise this? I don't know if his hand is strong enough to raise, though. I mean, can he get called by a hand worse than his? And that's the only problem sometimes with the raising. And sure enough, he's going to raise this. And you don't realize that there's no value to raising there. You raise with Queen Jack there. You check raising with Queen Jack there. What are you going to get called by that you can beat?
Right.
And are you really going to get a hand that's better than yours out? Because you don't have that much money. Are you going to get Ace Jack out of there?
Let's take a look at the final.
I don't know.
Let's take a look at the final chip count of the night here. This is going to do it.
Yeah, now look at Vaughn, man, up to 1,600. Brian at 1,400. Mark at 1,300. Almost 7,000 on this table. A lot of money for a 3 to 5 game. And Vaughn is our big winner, taking that home back, taking that money back to England. $1,200. Brian up 900. Mark up 600. And the rest of the table is down. Reggie, our big loser, unfortunately for him, he's down $600. Button moves over to seat number 4. We get a raise out of Aaron. This was a straddled pot, and Aaron has made it 20 to go with ace 8 of clubs. No, ace 9 of diamonds, I'm sorry.
Re-raise.
And we're going to see a re-raise here.
Yeah, Pete is actually re-raising. We don't know what he has. Well, there he is, ace 10.
Ace 10 of diamonds here. Wow, re-raise in the blind. In this big blind?
Well, he's raising the big blind in a straddled pot after a couple of limpers. I don't hate this play. He's trying to pick up the dead money. You got to think about it. The pot's already got $20, $40, $50, $55. He figures, you know what, maybe I can pick it up, but Vaughn is going to call.
Vaughn is going to call with King Queen. How do you like your ace 10 of diamonds here out of position now? Here we go to the flop. Well, diamonds and an overdraw.
I'd probably just move all in here with ace 10 of diamonds. If the guy's got a pair, so be it. Well, it goes check,
Check,
though.
check. Pete didn't bet, and Vaughn took a card. Turns a 5. Well, now the ace is still good.
Yep. Vaughn needs a king or a queen that is not a diamond. He is in terrible shape.
And now Pete is going to bet.
150.
He's going to bet 150. I was wondering exactly what he was waiting for on the flop there.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, you make it 100 to go and you get called. The pot is already $250, and I have 300 left with that flop. I'm moving all in. And if the guy calls me the sevens, hey, so be it. I've got overcards with my diamond draw. I also figure there's some fold equity. I don't want somebody in there with, say, ace queen or ace king. Maybe I can get him off that hand. And I think we got one more hand left.
That's going to be it here. I want to wish everybody a great weekend, Dave. We're going to go out to dinner tomorrow night. And, of course, in Central Time, this show goes on from, what the hell would it be, 8 to, 9 to 12, right?
9 to 12.
I'll catch a little bit at the end of the show. Maybe I'll write in. I gotta make sure you don't kill the thing.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. I love how you go, I'm going to wish you a happy like it was a holiday or something. Like, Bart's going away, so it must be a holiday. You can wish me a happy Mother's Day. How's that?
Okay, happy Mother's Day, Dave.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Did you get something for your wife or your dog?
10 more minutes, I guarantee you.
No, I did. Nice probably. Oh, maybe I'll pick her up. I'll take it.
Limp in here by Mark.
Yeah, and this is going to go 4 ways. Straddled, so it's $40 to the flop. Flop is ace 10-4 rainbow. No aces out there. Brian's got the best hand with 10-9. Pete also has a 10, but his kicker does not. His kicker's in trouble.
Brian is not in the hand.
Well, there you go. Then Pete's got the best hand with 10-7.
And now he picks up a heart draw here too.
Yeah, and that bet will probably take it down.
Yep.
And it does. And that's going to do it.
That is going to do it for us. As always, we appreciate everybody being here. And again, you can check us out in the archives on demand banner, upper left-hand corner of the screen. Get you access to everything. I'm going away. Dave's going to be in here with a smorgasbord of special commentators. Anybody familiar on 2+2 is going to be here with Jonas, Riverboat King. We're going to see some of Corporation Mike, hopefully. We're going to see some of Alan. Hopefully Jake Atsutani. It's going to be a really interesting show, right? 10:29.
It should be a lot of fun. A lot more fun than when just we're here.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. So,
That's what I'm here for.
Have a great weekend, everybody. And I'll see you on Monday. Dave will be back here tomorrow night. Everybody here in the booth. Good night, everybody from Live and Mike.
It's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.